Hey guys, it's the WalterFootball.com After Dark Show for June 6, 2024. We're going to be doing our fantasy football busts this week. We did fantasy football sleepers with Kenny last week, so only natural that we do the bust this week. So we're getting to that. We'll open up some Rainmaker packs. I have one. Kenny has several that he's going to open, so looking forward to that. And yeah, if you guys have any questions or comments, we'll answer all of them. But please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store. All that would mean a lot to us. And as you can see here, we have quite a few shirts, and we even have a mug on the merch store. But we have a True Nana Shop at a Pressure shirt. We have Rogers Bucker, Make Football Great Again. We have money laundering. The colors chosen very carefully. November Sloth Month is very important. I expect all NFL teams to tweet out their support of fat and lazy people like myself on November. So November is Sloth Month. We have a Pedo Pete just in time for the election. If you want to voice your support there, you can get that. There are 4 lights, of course. And then Bucker was right. We sell aprons now. This is a great gift for one of your loved ones. So you can also support us with super chats, super stickers. We had a couple great ones yesterday. A first-time viewer gave us $20 in super chats yesterday. We had Kevin Kovac with the $10 super sticker. So it really means a lot because these YouTube ads pay nothing. I say this all the time. The last time we had a show with no super chats or super stickers, we made 71 cents, which means we would have to have 4 shows just to buy a cheeseburger at McDonald's, which is pretty sad. The YouTube ads just really pay nothing. So if you guys want to support us, it'll be really appreciated. It really means a lot to us, and it helps keep the show going. Also, you can buy my book on Amazon. It is called Jerks of the College Years. So if you like Jerks of the Week, I think you'll like Jerks of the College Years. It's written the same way. As you can see, I bumped into a lot of weirdos during my years at Penn State. These are just 6 of them, very many. The middle one is he played in the NFL only in the preseason. He was a quarterback at Penn State. He did something very strange at one party, and I wrote all about it. So, and then I got in trouble for it from the girl who hosted the party. So it was a fun story. But yeah, so that's another way to support us. You can buy the book Jerks of the College Years on Amazon. Without further ado, our co-host tonight, Kenny Ortiz, president of thecapIsFake.com. Kenny, how are you?
Bro, I'm living the dream, and I'm glad I never did anything ridiculous in college to end up in a book.
Yeah, well, some people did, and you can read all about it there. But as Quacky can vouch for it, because Quacky lived next door to me in my 5th year at Penn State. He says, I thought NFL philosophy was going to be on the show tonight. This guy tweeted something very stupid tonight, and I quote tweeted him with that meme with like the circle like dropping into that guy's brain like as a bottomless pit, and then we had some exchanges. So for sure. I
gotta go back and find that.
I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up eventually. Although I don't want to get you in trouble, Kenny. That's like my fear is that like co-hosts of mine will get in trouble. So I like when I'm on the show, I always say like I'll answer anything because I don't care. I can't get canceled. But
I figure I'm going to get canceled one day eventually. But whatever is going to get me canceled, I've already said it's already out there. I've already said some dumb thing that will get me canceled in a decade from now. Whatever.
Okay, well, I'll pull it up later during the show. Dick Togo says bust quarterback Herbert. Definitely tell us why. I think you could definitely make a case for it. I don't know where his ADP is, but if he's going high, he probably shouldn't draft him. But I think that goes for all quarterbacks, and I think there are some quarterbacks we're going to get to that have a really early ADP that you should definitely avoid. So at least for me, I don't know what's on Kenny's list. He doesn't know what's on mine, so it's always a surprise. And last week, I think we had 2 or 3 agreements. My number 2 is your number 1, and then I kind of decided he should be my number 1 as well. So I'm willing to bet we have 2 agreements tonight. I think that's my guess. Quack says I'm just here to stir the pot, so it's always fun. Cassandra says I didn't respond to that guy because I don't get into socio-political stuff on there unless it's related to sports. But what I wanted to say was look forward to that. But yeah, I'll post it eventually. But here we go. Dude, you're not the one watching Hitler and the Nazis while you're at work. you're the one watching Hitler and Nazis while at work.
Okay, I gotta go back and I definitely have to go back. What the heck? What happened? I didn't know what happened.
All right, I'll pull it up. Why not? Let's do it now.
I'm like, wait a minute. There's Nazis involved. Wait a minute. What?
Yeah, this guy's one of the dumbest people on Twitter, I think. All right, here it is. You can see this, right? Yeah. I'll enlarge. He says, "Put Hitler and the Nazis evil on trial in the background as I work tonight." Buddy, it's like Orange Panda, Trump, took his playbook directly from how Hitler influenced German citizens. MFR hit Control-C, Control-V, and read from the script. It's incredible. So I did this. Hold on, because we get to ads here. This is the meme. I love this meme, the bottomless pit meme. And then we had an exchange. It went back and forth a couple of times. But it was pretty funny. So yeah.
To me, like if you're gonna disagree or if you don't like a particular politician, okay, fine.
Right.
But like the Nazi comments are just like they're just lame. Like they're lazy. Actually come up with like a rational, reasonable argument. Just like calling people, oh, Hitler, oh, Nazi, like that's just, dude, you're dumb. Stop. Like this is not helpful. Stop it.
Yeah, and it's like one of the worst things you can call someone, and like they trivialize it so much. Like
right.
if there's actually someone as bad as Hitler, like you can't just call him a Nazi now because you have to call him something worse because you already called a bunch of people Nazis.
That's right. Right. If everyone's a Nazi, then no one's a Nazi.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
It's so stupid. Yaskin says we talking Hitler with WTF. Let's talk Stafford and Goff. We talk about a bunch of stuff on here, Yaskin, but we will get to football. Dick Toga says receiver bust: Chris Olave, Stephon Diggs, Brandon Ayuk, DJ Moore drafted way too early, going a late round 2, early 3. Yeah, I think you can make a case for that. I like Ayuk, but maybe he gets traded. You never know. Yeah, I think you can make the case for all of them. And then Dick says RB bust: CMC, James Cook, Kenneth Walker, DeAndre Swift, Alvin Kamara. I think Swift's going too low from what I saw. All my busts, except for one, and I'll make a note why, are all in the top 6 rounds. Walker, I think you make a case for James Cook as well. I'll say that one of them is on my list for sure. So okay. We'll get to it. So we both have 10, but you have like 8 real ones and 2 honorable mentions. So I figure like you give an honorable mention, I'll give my 10th, and then you give your second honorable mention, I'll give my 9th, and so on. So if you want to give your first honorable mention,
well, my first. Okay, the first 2 they're kind of cop outs, but that's all right. You'll. But I just feel like while maybe these are obvious to everyone in our orbit, they may not be obvious to everyone watching. So I feel like it's worth saying. My first honorable mention is all tight ends being drafted in the first 5 rounds are all being drafted too high. I think tight ends generally go way too high. I generally don't think it's worth drafting a tight end before round. Unless you're getting absorbed, phenomenal, incredible, off the charts value. I'm not even thinking about tight ends until like round 11. So I think there are a few guys that are decent that are in the 7 to 10 range that are worth it, but barely worth it. But there's no one really before that worth it. Really, any tight end in the first 6 rounds.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I usually wait as well. Usually, like you and I have a race at the end to see who like the last person is to draft the tight end. It's like almost a game of chicken. But last year in our draft, TJ Hawkinson somehow fell to round 7, and I took him. And it's okay to take a tight end early if you can get them at an extreme value, but that's very rare. Like usually people like to fill out their starting lineup. I guess it's like the simple-minded thing to do because they like to see all the names there. They don't want to see any blank spots. So they'll take a tight end early, way too early. So I definitely agree with that. And Dick's talking about tight end bust here: Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, George Kittle, David Njoku, based on 8 drafted EPs so far, an underdog. So one of my tight ends is on that list, and it's Travis Kelce, my number 10. His ADP is 311. So he had a great playoff run. It came out of nowhere, which was kind of shocking because he was so bad during the regular season. Now it's like his stats compared to other tight ends was fine, but like people were drafting him in the first or maybe second round, and if you did, you got like no production out of him. He had so many drops, and he looked old, and he's gonna be 35 in October. Plus, he was distracted, and he could still be distracted, I suppose, especially coming off a Super Bowl win. Like I like. How hard is this guy working out? Like dating Taylor Swift, coming off his second consecutive Super Bowl win, third overall. I just don't think we're going to see it from him. And maybe he does the same thing this year as he did last year. Like maybe we see him slack off during the regular season, and then when the playoffs come around, he becomes a beast again. Like I could see that happening, but 311 is way too early. I mean, granted, it's not round 1 or round 2 like last year, but 311, that's way too rich for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know that like 311 is like abnormal to me, like in the grand scheme of typical. Even if he was coming off a phenomenal year and he wasn't dating Taylor Swift, and even if he was working out, I'm still not drafting the guy there.
Yeah, me neither. It's the tight end is so deep, and the difference between the top tight end and like the middle tight end is not as substantial as, you know, top running back compared to middle running back, or a top receiver compared to middle receiver. It's all about like the value-based drafting. Kid No Name asking, when will your top 250 fantasy players be posted? Actually, I think they are posted. I just didn't post the link on the homepage, so I'll do that tonight. I think they were posted like a week ago, and I think I just forgot to post the link, but it'll be up there. I'll post it tonight. Dick Togo says, got Laporta off waiver wire opening night. Now he's going round 2, early round 3. Just not worth it. Best cheap tight ends: Luke Musgrave, Ben Sinnott, Cole Kmet. Only tight ends in targeting first 6 rounds is Dalton Kincaid. I don't know what Dalton Kincaid's ADP is. Just going to look that up real quickly. I mean, Dalton Kincaid is he's super talented, but I feel like a lot of people are going to be going after him. So he is the 54th player coming off the board, which means his ADP is 506. I still think that's too early for a tight end. Definitely round 7. I would take him around 7. Round 6, I would at least think about it, but I don't think I'd pull the trigger on round 6 either. What are your thoughts on Kincaid? Like, where would you draft him? Is he like a round 7 guy for you?
Yeah. I mean, I like Kincaid. Where did you go? Did I lose you?
What?
There you're behind the. Okay, I moved the browser a little bit, and I'm like, the comment was covering you, and did I lose you? Am I talking to myself here? Yeah, he's fine. Like he's in the crew of guys that I'm probably not going to get to because it's unlikely he gets to round 7 or 8. And I'm just. Even if he is there in 7 or 8, to me, like that's fine value, but it's not amazing value. And so maybe I'm wrong. It's just not the way I draft. So other people have different philosophies or different approaches, which is fine. It's just not my style.
Yeah, I mean mine either. But at the same time, Kincaid's going to get like 1 billion targets this year, just because Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis are both gone. So I feel like he's going to have a great year. So like I said, round 6, I consider it. Round 7, definitely, unless someone else is there. But I think that's where I target him. Bagley says Kelsey at 101 is actually a viable strategy in noob leagues last year, since everyone reaches on quarterbacks, so pushes some early mid second round guys to the round 2-3 turn. Yeah, I mean, I know some people who've been playing fantasy a long time who drafted Kelsey in the first round last year and have done so in previous years as well. And I just never liked it. And then Sue says, I think Mahomes is really going to like his new toy, Hollywood Brown. Thoughts? Yeah. I mean, Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, plus he has Rashee Rice as well when he's not going to be suspended. So just more targets for Mahomes to throw to. So that's definitely another factor as to why like Kelsey's probably going to be a bust this year. Well, at least bust in terms of where he's gonna be drafted, I should say. Like I still think he could have a productive year. Kevin Kovac with the $5 super sticker. Thank you so much, Kevin. Yeah, really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for your support. You're always extremely helpful. So thank you so much. All right, Kenny, your second honorable mention. Who is it?
Okay, this is another major cop out replica of but it's. Every quarterback being drafted in the first 8 rounds
I was about to guess that
is a bust. I just, I'm looking at the quarterbacks and where they're going. I cannot see a scenario in any of the leagues I'm in where I'm going to be looking at a quarterback before round 9 at the earliest. Like it just doesn't make sense. The quarterbacks that are going, I mean, Dak is going in round 5, late 5th, early 6th, I think. Something like that. He's quarterback. Kyler Murray is the 10th quarterback off the board, going in the middle of round 6, late 6, something like that. Brock Purdy going in around 7 or 8. Jared Goff, he's the 90th player off the board according to Fantasy Pros. He's the 12th quarterback. So what's that? That's round
it's 806.
806. Okay, so I can't imagine. Looking at the players that I could draft around Goff instead of him or a quarterback, and there's a dozen players I think I'd rather want at other positions, and so if this holds true, if Fantasy Pros ADP holds true, and this has been the. I mean, I've been drafting quarterbacks late since 2001, before it was cool. I really was. You can attest to that.
I real quick, I can because the first time I was in a league with you was 2000, and you waited until the 13th round to get a quarterback, and except for me, everyone in the league was making fun of you. They're like, Kenny, you don't have a quarterback. Your team's going to suck. And with your 2 picks, you took quarterbacks in rounds 13, 14. You took Dante Culpepper and Jeff Garcia, and you won the league because you had just dynamite quarterbacks that you took drafted late, and everyone was salty. But I was laughing at it, but you had the last laugh, especially.
So I just, it's just I've forever I've always thought I punt this position, and so I can't see myself taking any of these quarterbacks. I think there's not a single quarterback that I would consider really probably before round 9 or 10. I don't think.
Well, I know at their ADP, I totally agree. Now, hypothetically, this is never going to happen because people draft quarterbacks early. So, for example, if Josh Allen, his ADP is round 2, what if he falls to round 5? Right. Then you obviously take him there. Yeah, but that's very unlikely to happen because quarterbacks just get drafted too early all the time. So. When I'm saying I don't see a scenario based on knowing what's likely to happen in the leagues I'm in. Right. But yeah, if you're in a league with 10 other guys who think like us and then us too, then there's a genuine chance that you're going to see Josh Allen in round 5 and Lamar Jackson in round 6 or 7. Just feels like we're going to wait on those guys. But yeah, if a great value comes around, then draft the guy. But for the what you're generally saying, I totally agree. Based on their ADP, I couldn't find a single quarterback going in the 8 rounds where I was like, oh, that's a good bargain. They're all going too early. So yeah. I actually have 3 on my list. Wow. Especially way too early. I remember last week I mentioned Matthew Stafford and Aaron Rodgers, and the more and more I look at I legitimately think I'm going to end up with those kinds of guys at the end of the round because I just think all of the other guys in the top 16 quarterbacks going, all of them are going between 1 and 5 rounds too early, in my opinion. Yeah. Stafford's ADP is 1007. And then Aaron Rodgers' ADP is 4. It's 4 picks after that. So 1011. So yeah, you can get those guys in the 10th round. And I mean, I think it's pretty good. Although, I mean, you're risking injury with Rodgers, but at that point, you could probably just pick up someone comparable, or you can play matchups. In our league, the one that we're in, I actually won a championship several years ago when I forget who my quarterback was. He went down. So I just kept cycling through quarterbacks, playing matchups every week. And the last 3 weeks I went with, I think it was the Eli Manning, Daniel Jones in the playoffs, and I won the championship. And Daniel Jones, that was his first action, I think. Or no, I think it was the opposite. I think it was Daniel Jones, Eli Manning. It was Eli Manning's last game or something. Eli Manning at the end almost outscored Lamar Jackson in the championship because he was playing against the Redskins who couldn't stop the pass. So you could definitely play matchups with quarterbacks, and I think it's super easy to do that. Yeah. Sue asking, and this is a question, especially for you, Kenny, because Eagles, Shirley Barkley will negatively impact Hurts's fantasy scoring. I think it could be neutral because Barkley is going to help the offense be even more explosive, so they may have more scoring opportunities. Now, you could argue Barkley is going to take some touchdowns away, and I think that could happen. But like I said, I think there are going to be more touchdowns scored overall. So I think it's going to be neutral. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's hard to tell. It's Jason Kelsey retiring at the center. So the Eagles will have a new center and a new right guard. I wonder if that's going to impact their confidence in the tush push or not. And so I think that could play a role. So I think until we see some real action, I think it's going to be hard to tell.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. But they've been so successful with it. And I know that Jason Kelsey's been a big part of it, but I still think it can function without him. But I will see. Dick Togo says Jaden Daniels is my favorite target. I'm hoping he doesn't move more and more come next month. Got to draft in mid-July. Mid-July is a good time for a draft if you're hoping that guys don't get steamed up because Jaden Daniels has a great preseason game. Like he's going to go like 2 rounds earlier than he's already anticipated going. His ADP is 9-11. Shout out to Sean McDermott. What are your thoughts on Jaden Daniels at 9-11?
That feels really high.
Really? Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I've never seen this guy play. In the NFL,
right.
Maybe he's going to be awesome, and maybe he's going to run around or maybe he's going to suck and get benched, or maybe he's going to be totally mediocre and the offense won't do anything and he won't get any touchdown passes. I don't know. It's just, to me, that feels I'd rather take if I were going to draft a quarterback in round 9, which I'm not going to, but if I were, I think I'd rather take my chances with, I don't know, Kirk Cousins. I'd rather take my chances maybe with who else is going around him. Trevor Lawrence I don't love, but he's going in that same range. I think I'd rather take my shot with one of those guys who are being drafted in the same area.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. But at the same time, the fact that we haven't seen him play might mean that he's going too late. Like he could have an amazing rookie year, kind of like Robert Griffin did for Washington. Just compare wrestling quarterbacks who are mobile. Daniels is going to get his rushing yards. So I'm pretty confident in him. I like Daniels a lot. 9-11 doesn't seem like a great value, but that I think I'd consider him there. It depends who else is on the board. Matthias says I'm not taking quarterback before round 9. Trust me, the Jalen Warrens of the world aren't worth it either. What are your thoughts on that, Kenny?
Oh, the math proves you shouldn't take a quarterback. It's just it's. I'm not trying to be snarky when I say that. I'm just saying like the math doesn't play out that you should take a quarterback that early. There are some formats where that could change, but generally the typical way fantasy football is played, the math shows that the difference between a quarterback being drafted in the first 8 or 9 rounds, the gap between that kind of quarterback and the replacement level quarterback, the average guy you can get off the waiver wire, the gap between those two is very small in actual effect on your fantasy team, opposed to quarterback or opposed to running back or receiver. The gap between what you draft in the first 7, 8, 9 rounds to what you get off the waiver wire is dramatically different. So it's just, it's the WAR effect. That's the baseball stat, wins against replacements. How many wins above replacement, or how can I do above what I could replace him with? And why would I draft a guy in the 7th round when I can replace that guy with someone off the waiver wire that is really, really close to him in any given week?
Yeah, and if you're drafting a quarterback in round 7, like you're probably going to get round 7 production from that quarterback. Like maybe he has a great year and he bumps up his production, but generally speaking, like he's going to be round 7 production. Like that's where you're going to get out of that player. But like Jalen Warren, like he has immense upside. Like if Najee Harris goes down, like if Harris got injured like tomorrow, Jalen Warren would bump up to like what, round 3, round 4. So you're getting like possible round 3 or round 4 production out of that guy. Now you're taking a shot, of course, and you have to get lucky, but it's just the upside that you get with those guys. You just don't get with the quarterbacks, and you can get a similar quarterback a little bit later. So that's why. That's another reason why you should wait.
I've been doing a little bit of at one point I'm going to do a kind of a larger research project on this, and my hope is to have an article on this at some point on thecapsfake.com in the future. But I've kind of informally kept a little bit of track, like in any given week in a typical 12-team league, in any given week, the quality of quarterback you can pick off the waiver wire is usually comparable to about QB7. Like that's about, if you play now, it's not the same guy, but in any given week, if you played the matchups week to week to week, and you're just streaming the position, and you're just getting guys off the waiver wire, whatever's available, and you pick the best guy that particular week. If you pick the matchups right, which I know is a big if, you can match production of about QB7 off the waiver wire over the course of a season. That's a realistic thing you can do in most leagues. And it's some years it doesn't work out. Some years, okay, you're getting guys off the waiver wire, and there is a big gap between them and the rest of the field. So it doesn't work out every year, but the probability is it works out more years than not.
Yeah, I think so. And it goes to that example and I was saying where like Eli Manning almost outscored Lamar Jackson because the matchup was so good. And I think Lamar Jackson had a bad matchup. It's probably against like the Steelers or something. So, for sure. You should definitely wait on a quarterback unless you get a great value. Dick says Jalen Hurts has been going early fourth. What are your thoughts on Jalen? I mean, obviously too early. I'm seeing it actually a fantasy person. I'm seeing 301. So compared to 301, if you get him in the fourth round, that's at least like somewhat of a bargain. But I still think I would probably not draft Hurts until like round 5. I
mean 5 is probably fine. 4 feels early to me. 3 feels no way.
Yeah. And that goes with the question Bag was asking. It's a hypothetical. If you're in a league with 11 other Kennys, where does the first quarterback go off the board? Round 5-ish?
I was in a league a couple years ago with a bunch of guys like me. I'm not in the league anymore. And Russell Wilson was going. This is, like several years ago when Russell Wilson was one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks. I think it was the year they went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Patriots. But anyway, I drafted Russell Wilson as the first first quarterback off the board in the late 6th round.
Wow, that's crazy.
Like every other league, he was like second round pick, pretty much. Yeah,
that's so funny. Yeah, so
I was the first one. I drafted a quarterback first, and they are all like, "Oh, I can't believe we drafted a quarterback. Come on, that's." I'm like, okay, but like this is too absurd at this point, guys.
Right? Yeah, it's like I said. At some point, you're going to get a good value. So is it round 5? Like where would you take the first quarterback this year? If it's like whether it's Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, like whoever you have number 1, like where would you take him? What round?
I'm willing to take Mahomes in round 4.
Okay, interesting.
And then there's not another guy I'm looking at until round 6 or 7. Well, Josh Allen in 5th, Mahomes in 4, Allen in 5, and then there's no one else I want to look at until much later.
Okay, makes sense.
All the other guys at the top have question marks in my mind about too. Like all of them have a question mark that make me nervous.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Mahomes will bounce back though.
Yeah.
So Matthias says I think Walt always invites the one guy who drafted Marvin Mims in the 5th last year. Did you like Marvin Mims last year? I got a bunch of his Rainmaker cards through pack openings. Unfortunately,
I wasn't a fan of Marvin. I mean, I wasn't against them, but I certainly didn't have him in any of my leagues, and I certainly didn't own as many DraftKings Rainmaker cards as you do.
Well, I just kept getting him in packs. Remember last year, just like hey, I hope it's not Marvin Mims. It's Marvin Mims again.
I mean, it became weirdly laughable. I mean, like,
it's absurd. And I had same thing in golf this year. I keep getting Aaron Baddeley, and on Saturday we had we had Ben Wassley on. He's from Australia, and as soon as I said Aaron Baddeley, he got excited because Baddeley is Australian. Unfortunately, Baddeley is like 43 years old and he's not good anymore. He got like a 20th place finish, I think, this year, but like otherwise it's been pretty bad. So it's like, why can't I get Scotty Scheffler like nonstop, like the best golfer in the world? I have to keep getting Aaron Baddeley. It's part of my luck, I guess. Dick says no rushing upside with those quarterbacks. But I'm not quite sure which quarterbacks you're referring to. But yeah, you do want the rushing upside for sure. E. Hoskins says if Daniels runs like he ran at LSU, he will be out for the season in week 3 or 4. That is the downside for sure. I mean, that's the downside with Anthony Richardson, and we saw him last year when he was healthy. With the brief moments he was healthy, he was amazing. Like at least for fantasy wise. But he got hurt in every single game he played in last year. He only finished one game and he was banged up by the end of the Rams game. He left the first game very late, but he missed like a few snaps. Otherwise, like he played like half the Colts game or something like that. Or actually, I don't even know if he played week 2. The Texans game, not the Colts game. I don't know if he played week 2. If he did, he left early. Actually, no, I don't think he played week 2. And then another game, he left super early as well. I think it was against Tennessee, if I remember correctly. But yeah, he would always get injured, and it was kind of sad to see because like he's so talented.
I think we see. I mean, we've seen that over and over again with guys throughout their career, right? Going back to Michael Vick and Steve McNair, Jalen Hurts. Like there's a regular sense where like these guys are just often injured. Because they're taking a lot of hits. They're taking extra hits that other quarterbacks aren't taking. It may not be a lot. You take an extra 3 to 5 hits a game. I mean, that's the number of hits you're taking in a game, percentage-wise, is going up significantly, and it's going to obviously increase the probability of injury.
Yeah, Justin Fields, gets hurt all the time too. Is another one. Stone Papa Summer says, "Sorry to go off topic. Hey, no need to be sorry. We always go off topic here." He was wondering on your opinion on Finals Game 1, gun to the head, Celtics minus 6.5. I really like Jaylen Brown first field goal. I am going to be on Dallas in Game 1. The Celtics have played close games for the most part against Indiana, and Dallas is much better than Indiana. The Pacers didn't have Halliburton in games 3 and 4, the 2 games in Indiana. And I feel like the Celtics have gotten so lucky with their playoff, success. Like they played the Heat without Jimmy Butler. And then in round 2, Donovan Mitchell missed the last 2 games. Jarrett Allen was out the whole series. And then in round 3, like I said, Halliburton was out for 2 of the 4 games. Whereas like Dallas has been so impressive. Like they clobbered Minnesota. A Minnesota team that beat Denver, the defending champs. In the prior round, they beat the number 1 seed Oklahoma City in 6, but it really could have been 5 because in game 4, Dallas had a huge lead, and then Luka hurt his knee, and then they blew that lead. So it really could have been a 5-game series. And then in the first round, Clippers without Kawhi Leonard, but Kawhi Leonard did play in that series. I think he played 1 or 2 games, and I think Dallas won both those games. So what Dallas has done so far in the playoffs has been really impressive, just more impressive than Boston. And the fact that they're getting 6.5, I think is just a great number. So I'm going to be on Dallas. I think Dallas wins the series as long as Kristaps Porzingis is out. Now, if he comes back, I think it's really anyone's series, but I think I like the Mavericks for sure. And I for my player prop, I'm probably going to go with Jason Tatum under points in game 1. He just doesn't play as well at home as he does on the road. I think like he lets like the role players handle more workload at home, and he tends to take control of games on the road. So that's where I'm going to go, unless if I wake up and then I have a different feeling about the game. But I'm probably going to be Dallas.
Nice. I hate both of these cities, and I want them both to lose. But I hate the Boston Celtics almost as much as I hate almost any other franchise in sports.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So
that's saying a lot.
So I think I got to root for the Dallas Mavericks, which the idea of joy being brought to anyone in the city of Dallas is not exciting to me. But I'm going to root for the Mavericks in the series.
Well, I mean, for people who don't know, I assume this is because of the Dallas Cowboys, right?
Yes.
You hate Dallas, but my thing is like, I don't think you hate Dallas. I think you just hate Cowboys fans. Like, whereas like I could see you hating on Boston because like it's closer in proximity. Like if the Cowboys were in the NFC South, which they probably should be just based on location, like you probably wouldn't care about the Cowboys at all, right? Whereas like Boston is close to us, it's not too far of a drive, but I don't know. I think that like, and there are a lot of Cowboys fans in Philly, just because I don't know why. I think they just want to be contrarian. Right. But it's easy to hate in Cowboys fans. I just think that like the city of Dallas, I feel like shouldn't get any flack for this.
Although the city of Dallas is kind of lame.
Well, I've never been there. I've been to Houston when I was in Texas, but I was never in
Houston's
Dallas.
fine. Yeah, Dallas is just, it's like the most veneer, blah, like just fake cowboy. Look at me, I'm a cowboy, but I've got $100 hat from the buckle. And I got my bedazzled jeans. I'm a cowboy, baby. No, you're not. You're a man, woman, child. Stop it.
I didn't think we are going to get a rant about Dallas, but you just never know. No, don't apologize. I love it. Dick says Art Smith going to run the ball 500 times. Actually, love drafting Najee and Warren this year. Did it last year, worked out well. Yeah, the only thing you have to worry about is Arthur Smith giving carries to Cordero Patterson, who's the suspiciously the third running back on that roster.
The only problem with that strategy is that, like, you just, in any given, fantasy football is a week to week league, a week to week game. So from week to week, you don't know who's going to be the guy, and it becomes, it's so often you end up getting it wrong, and it gets maddening after a while.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Sue says Mahomes didn't have a rushing touchdown last year. Certainly that won't continue. Yeah, I feel like it'll it's due to have some positive regression there. And his thin frame, Daniels' thin frame is concerning. Yeah, it is. I love the upside, but he's almost certainly going to get injured. Dick says I had AR5 in 3 leagues. He was AR-15 in college. AR-5 in 3 leagues. He didn't get hurt week 2 while he was on the way to the monster game versus Houston. I barely won my matchup by 2 points thanks to George Pickens' Monday Night Miracle. I do think he got hurt in that game, though, against Houston. I guess like it's this Mandela effect or something. I distinctly remember him getting hurt in every game. No, Gardner Minshew was he was 19 of Richardson he got hurt in that game. I'll pull it up here. I was about to say, am I losing my mind here? Like, is this Mandela effect? It's not. Here it is. Here's the box score. Richardson only threw 10 passes, and he had a big game because he had two rushing touchdowns at the beginning, and then he got hurt, and then Minshew came in. And Minshew was 19 of 23 for 171 and a touchdown. So he got hurt every single week he was on the field. Some earlier in the game than others, but he was injured every single game. Let's see here. Porzingis makes a huge difference. Yeah, definitely for sure. Dick says Celtics need Porzingis to give them something because Celtics bigs are going to be food defensively. Yeah, I think Dallas has a good matchup. Matthias says, I understand your point, Kenny. People who drafted Jalen Warren probably get 20 points all year from him, and that's it. I don't know. He had some good games. Jalen Warren did. But like you're drafting the upside too of Najee Harris getting hurt, which you have to do with.
Yeah, I mean, the question is not Jalen Warren. The question is whether whoever you pick there. The question is, instead of a quarterback, do I want to use a pick on a running back or receiver? Now, if you pick the wrong running back or wrong receiver, then it's not going to work out. Don't pick the wrong guy.
Bagley says, I can kind of relate as a Chiefs fan. Every time we get into a Mahomes versus Brady debate on Twitter, they have Patriots / Celtics, Bruins, Red Sox fan, and their bias. I root against all those teams. Yeah, I remember. This is so long ago, but there was this is at work at one of my workplaces. There was this guy who was a fan of like the Buccaneers, and he was like so annoying. Like one of my friends like at work, he was like, man, I hate the Buccaneers now just because of him. Just like nothing to do with like the Eagles. All the Eagles played them in the playoffs eventually, but he just hated the Buccaneers because of that guy because he was so annoying. Matthias says he got a concussion, then got a shoulder injury, right? Yeah, a bunch of injuries for Richardson. Richardson was going off on the ground. I was livid. He was off to a massive game, like 2 early touchdowns on the ground. Like he could have had like one of the all-time fantasy performances for a quarterback, but just got hurt. All right, so I'm up to my my 9th bust here, and it's one of the quarterbacks. It's Kyler Murray. You actually mentioned him. His ADP is 612. I feel like people have forgotten that he gets hurt all the time. Like, why is he going around 6? Like, Kyler Murray is not going to play all year. And unlike Richardson, like, he doesn't have this insane upside. I mean, he has some upside for sure. He can run around. But he's not like Richardson. He's not like Jane Daniels. He doesn't have, like, just this, like, all-world, like, ability. He's a fine quarterback, but he's got limitations. But he's gotten injured or he's missed action in every single NFL season he's been in the league. Like, you just can't trust him. Now if he's there in like round 9, around 10, I'm more than happy to take a flyer on him. But round 6, even if it's 6-12, just way too early for Murray.
Yeah, totally agree. Obviously, I've already ranted enough on quarterbacks. So,
yeah.
And the injury risk, as you said, it adds to that.
Yeah. Feist says Murray won my league last year. I mean, he had a great finish. Remember that performance he had against the Eagles in Philly? He was on fire to end the year, and now he's going to have Marvin Harrison Jr. Like I get liking him, but he gets hurt all the time. And like, yeah, maybe you'll get lucky for a long stretch and he'll be good for you. But and I do like his offensive line, but more likely than not, he's gonna miss like a decent amount of action. So, who is your number 8 bust?
Okay, this one's a kind of a cheap because it's pretty late. On the Fantasy Pros, his ADP is 79th overall. But that is Mr. Austin Eckler, running back Washington. I put him out on my list because I thought he's going to be overrated. He's actually getting drafted a little later than I thought, so maybe he's not as much of a bust as maybe I otherwise think. I just have always thought he was overrated. I've always thought he lacked the skills that would make him a long-term viable running back in the NFL. And I think he slowed down last year in a point where I don't know that I would want to trust him. I don't love that offense, even though they made some adjustments in the offseason that maybe have some great upside. I also think they have a great running back on that roster that I think is way more talented, overall better player in Brian Robinson. And so, I can't imagine that Eckler is the guy down the stretch. I could imagine maybe the first few games of the year, he looks good. And then I could imagine Robinson coming on strong. And so, not a terrible pick, 79th overall, whatever he's, being drafted in the 7th, 8th round. Maybe that's not terrible, but I could easily see Robinson supplanting him sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind Eckler at 707. I think it's fine, but I'm not too excited about him. Now I will say this: like last year, I think he got got a bad rap last year because he had a great week 1 and then he got injured and then he came back and just was never the same after that. And I think the injury was still bothering him, but I do think you make a good point about Brian Robinson. Like he's there. I feel like he's going to get a bunch of carries. And I think Eckler, there's a chance that he's just going to be the receiving back on third downs, like what Antonio Gibson was supposed to be. So I do think that there is some major risk, but in round 7, I think that's it's kind of been mitigated. So, I don't mind him there. I think it's okay. My number 8 guy is another quarterback, Lamar Jackson. His ADP is 402. Now there's no doubting this guy's talent. I mean, he won MVP for the second year in a row. But I think that boosted his ADP up way too much. Early round 4 for a quarterback, like first of all, it's too high for any quarterback. But second, he lost 3 offensive linemen this offseason. Last time we saw Jackson get a hit to the offensive line was 2020. He won MVP in 2019 with that amazing season, and then he had a big drop-off in production in 2020. I think history is just going to repeat itself. I really don't like him, and just from that perspective. And also, he's another guy who gets injured a lot. And I think people have forgotten that because he was healthy all last year for once. But I think more likely than not, he's going to miss some time with injuries. So he's just way too much of a risk for me. And I think there's definitely going to be some regression with the offensive line injuries or departures.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Lamar Jackson is on my list too because, he's one of the quarterbacks being drafted in the first 8 rounds. So I've already mentioned him. Yeah.
Nice. Matthias says I drafted Kirk Cousins in that league and it was past round 9 and then he got hurt. We have an IR spot. I picked up Murray and held him and played quarterback carousel, which supports Kenny's philosophy. Yeah, there you go. I mean, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. And it worked out for you. That's awesome. All right, Kenny, who's your number 7?
Okay. I'm gonna get to actual players here. This makes me a little sad because I like this player, but it's DeAndre Swift in Chicago. Swift is a nice player. He's being drafted 69th overall, I think. So 6th, 7th round, he's not being drafted. 7th, maybe 8th round, something like that. It's not being high, and I can see the payoff here. I can see why people would want to draft Swift. Like you potentially have the number 1 running back in what could be a high-powered offense being drafted, beyond round 5, like that could be a steal. Like I can imagine people being like, wait a minute, he's a sleeper pick at that spot. I think the risk level here is too high. We've seen like this offense could be great, but it also could totally suck if Caleb Williams struggles as rookie, which we've seen even good quarterback prospects suffer. We've also seen this offensive line be very inconsistent, and okay, like maybe it'll be great, but maybe not. We have that issue there. We've also seen DeAndre Swift with 2 different teams behind 2 very good offensive lines totally fade down the stretch with Detroit and with the Eagles. We saw coaching staffs go away from him. Even in moments when he was healthy, we saw coaching staffs not trust him. Now, we don't know the reason why. There's nothing on the field that I've ever seen that makes me wonder to question him. But if 2 different coaching staffs intentionally go away from him, you got to wonder why. And then on top of that, they've got 2 other running backs on that roster, one of which I think is more talented than Swift. I think Khalil Herbert's a better player than Swift. Roshan Johnson, I don't think is as talented as Swift, but he's not nothing. I mean, he's going to be a warm body that gets some carry. So I think there's some great upside for Swift here, but I think there's a huge downside. I think there's a huge downside in terms of this offense being mediocre or worse, and him being in the middle of a 3-headed, kind of monster, so to speak, a 3-headed rotation. And that's not good. And that doesn't bode well. So I could see people looking back and him being on a bunch of people's benches by week 6 or 7 because he's not panned out at all.
Yeah, he was on my bust list last year. Now he ended up playing pretty well for a while, but you're right, he did fade down the stretch. And I was kind of wondering why he didn't make my bust list, and I looked at his ADP, and it's like 607 or 609. And I'm like, okay, like that's not too bad. But then you made a really convincing argument. I think that I could probably add him to my bust list for sure. He's someone I don't really want in the 6th round. Maybe a couple of rounds later, I think you can take a shot on him because there's definitely some upside. Like you said, the offense could be really good, but Caleb Williams has struggled in OTA so far. Like that, there's a chance that offense just doesn't function nearly as well as people want it to. Which would really affect Swift. And I mean, you're right. Like Khalil Herbert's still there. I like Herbert as well. And I also like Rashawn Johnson. I was kind of confused about why they paid Swift so much money. It just seemed like such a waste. And very disappointing with the Bears because they had so much cap space entering the offseason. I'm like, they have the number 1 pick. They have all this cap space. Like this team could be a monster. And I was actually considering betting them to win the Super Bowl at 50-1. And I'm glad I didn't because they didn't make enough upgrades at all. And I think they might make the playoffs. I have them on the cusp of doing so, but I just don't see him winning the Super Bowl this year. Unfortunately, they just made way too many mistakes, especially with Swift.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if Caleb Williams comes out and he's an amazing from day one, or
right.
Amazing very early in the season, then that's a game changer, obviously. But I don't know that. You have to bake in the possibility that he doesn't figure it out year 1 or doesn't figure it out till late in the season, which
right.
We've seen that even with good quarterback prospects, we've seen guys struggle initially.
Yeah, I think people are they're too eager for another CJ Stroud, and I think they may take Williams too early because of that. So
even Stroud struggled with his passing accuracy for the first 4 or 5 weeks. Right. He was very efficient. He didn't throw up, but he wasn't great for long stretches. So, yeah, he turned into obviously phenomenal. But the first couple weeks of the season, they were being very, kind of tight with him. They weren't giving him a lot of opportunity to throw the ball down the field. It was kind of a real conservative, high percentage throw type offense. They didn't really open up the offense until several games into the season.
Yeah, that result I have on the screen, 31-20. Now Stroud had a big fantasy performance in that game, but it was all garbage time. The Colts blew out the Texans. So, yeah, he didn't get going until after a few weeks. You're right. But then he really took off. So, yeah. If you have Caleb Williams, Jane Daniels, like you might be disappointed in September. There's a chance that if the rest of your team's not good, like you're going to be out of contention. By mid-October, but then that's when your quarterback's going to go off. So it's a tough spot for sure, and you just don't want to overdraft these guys. Kevin Kovac, $10 super sticker. Thank you so much, Kevin. Really appreciate it, Kevin. You're the man. Thank you so much. Just you don't know how much this helps us. It's these YouTube ads pay nothing. I'm not joking when I say that. We need four shows to make to buy a cheeseburger at McDonald's, which is I don't know if that's like sadder for YouTube or sadder for the state of our affairs for the U.S. dollar. Don't really know, because when we were in high school, cheeseburgers were 59 cents each. I don't know if you remember that, but I used to go to McDonald's to get like 4 of them after swimming.
I can't remember back that far.
Yeah. It was 4 cheeseburgers, 59 cents each, and I got large fries and chicken nuggets. I used to eat like a madman because I swam so much, and I needed the calories. Dick says, Lamar isn't that guy in fantasy anymore. He's going way too high. Yeah, for sure. He's not what he was in 2019. Sue says Herbert was running great, then he hurt his ankle. He did have an injury last year. So, I mean, hopefully, hopefully he does rebound this year. And I think that there's definitely a chance that Swift gets hurt. Remember, he used to get injured all the time. So you have that risk as well. Draft Shark says Swift RB19, that's way too high. Yeah, I think so too. And then Matthias says name 18 running backs better than Swift. I mean, could we do that? We could probably do that, right? I'll tell my top of my head.
Yeah, off the top of my head, probably. I mean, I can't name a lot of things off the top of my head at 11:30 at night. Okay. I'll have to. I can pull up a list of running backs. That's
okay. Let's go. Is Joe Mixon better than Swift?
Yes.
Yes, that's 1. Pacheco, is he better?
Yes.
2. Breece Hall, obviously. 3. Is James Cook better?
Maybe not.
Okay. Travis Etienne?
Probably not.
Okay, I would have said so. Okay, we'll keep it. We'll keep it a 3. Raheem Mostert / Devon Achane.
I think I don't love Mostert. I would take maybe Achane, but you may hear his name on my list later.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll do Achane for because we didn't do Etienne. Jonathan Taylor, obviously 5. Nick Chubb, obviously 6. Derrick Henry at this stage of his career, what do you think?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, 7. Zamir White, probably not. Any of either of the Pittsburgh running backs?
Jaylen Warren is better.
Okay. All right. 8. No one on the Chargers. I mean, Dobbins is talented, but he can't stay healthy. Tennessee, you have Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears.
I think they're both better.
Okay, 10. Ramondre Stevenson.
Maybe not Spears. That's probably not fair.
Maybe okay, 9. All right. Go back to 9. Ramondre Stevenson.
It's close.
It's close.
I'll give Swift the edge, maybe.
Okay. Javonte Williams.
He's better.
Yeah, I think so too. 10. Saquon Barkley, obviously 11. Yeah. Christian McCaffrey, obviously 12. Dave Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs.
Jahmyr Gibbs, yes.
What about Montgomery?
Probably not.
Okay, so 13. Although the Lions replaced Montgomery with Swift, like they think that Montgomery's better.
I think that. Yeah.
All right. It's to say no. Bijan Robinson, yes, 14. Yes. Josh Jacobs, yes, 15. Yes. Kyron Williams,
yes,
16. Dallas has nothing. Then we get to Chicago. Brian Robinson.
It's close, but I'll probably give it to Swift.
Okay. Alvin Kamara, yes. 17. Aaron Jones.
At this stage in his career, it's close.
I think they're equal.
Pretty close, yeah.
I mean, we'll look at what Aaron Jones did in the playoffs last year. Like when he's healthy, I think he's better than Swift. I would say yes for Aaron Jones. 18. Rashad White.
No, I think Swift is better.
Okay. Kenneth Walker.
I think Walker's better.
19. James Conner.
No, Swift is better.
Devin Singletary.
Swift is better.
And Jonathan Brooks.
It's hard to know. I mean, he's a rookie, right? Sure. There's more. Brooks got more talent, but we'll see.
Yes. So we named 19, and there were like a few maybes in there. So it could be between 19 and 23. Let's see. So we have Dick Toga says CMC, Bijan, Breece, Gibbs, Kyron, Achane, Taylor, Jacobs, ATN, Saquon. Yeah. bunch of these guys. Najee Warren over Swift, Joe Mixon. Yeah, he names all the guys we named. Yeah, so definitely you can name. We named 19. So yeah, it's probably like the 20th best running back in the NFL. Yeah, KK, no shot. Again, thank you so much, Kevin. John says, just got here. Don't draft McCaffrey, contract curse. If you have the first pick, who are you taking?
I'm taking McCaffrey. Sorry, contract or not contract. I think I'm taking McCaffrey first pick overall.
I could see it. I think San Francisco's offensive line could be a disaster, especially if Trent Williams gets hurt. Like he's getting up there in age. I think I would take Breece Hall if we're being honest. I love Breece Hall. He could be like receiving wise. He reminds me of Marshall Faulk.
If I'm going to go for upside, it's McCaffrey's been so good since he's been in San Francisco. I mean, he was good in Carolina. He's been so bit better. It's hard for me to say no to him. But Hall is, and Bijan Robinson's tempting too. Very tempting in that spot.
Yeah, I agree. And Lamar Jackson, probably one of the 18. We forgot about him. First pick Justin Jefferson. What do you think about that?
I'm not taking unless the format demands it. I'm highly unlikely to take a receiver number one. Do I think I'm not even sure I have him as the best receiver.
Really?
I don't know what JJ McCarthy is going to be. I don't know what their quarterback situation is going to to be. So
I mean, they had as Matthias says, he gets 200 yards with Nick effing Mullins.
I think I think you can make a case that he's the best receiver. And he should be number one. I'm talking about fantasy, not real. I think you can make the case that Jefferson should be number one receiver taken. But I think you can make a case for Tyreek Hill or CeeDee Lamb or Jamar Chase. I think you can make a case for any one of those four guys as being the number one receiver off the board.
Yeah. Sue says, need to know more about the Sanders RB contract curse. Mike asking the same thing. Dick says, I actually have pick one full PPR. I'm honestly leaning CeeDee Lamb, Bijan, Breece Hall, Tyreek Hill over CMC. CMC is definitely better in PPR too. So but then again, so is Breece. Breece Hall was a monster last year receiving wise. Like I feel like they figure it out. They're like, wait a second, this guy has like Marshall Faulk type receiving ability. Let's get him the ball like 10 times. And they didn't really draft another receiver. They got Malachi Corley in third round, but he's not going to do much early on. And then they signed Mike Williams, who's to quote you, Mike Williams is going to have 2 good quarters and this year and then do nothing otherwise.
It sounds right. That's I just unless there are certain styles of league, because of the guys you're playing against or the style they play, like maybe a receiver number one makes sense, but I find it to be pretty rare. Typically, it's hard for me to not go running back still.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I would go, like I said, I think I'd consider Breece Hall, maybe Bijan, but CMC's in the discussion too. And John says Arthur Smith had Tyler Algier in his top 5. It's true. Bagger says, I think Bijan at 101 is defensible. Yeah, especially with Arthur Smith gone. Addition by subtraction. Arthur Smith, I'll take Bijan number 1. You can definitely make that argument for sure. Dick says, Jamar Chase, another guy. This is PPR scoring, though. Just can't get trust. CMC, lots of mileages. Got to slip at some point. Yeah, I feel like there might be some regression. It was a long season last year. He has an injury history. It's tough. And if T. Higgins doesn't show up and is a holdout, I think you can really make the case for Chase at number 1.
I think more and more, I think I want to have like the third pick in the draft in a typical 12-team league. I think that's better. I'd rather take one of those 3 guys, between CMC, Breece Hall, or Bijan. I'd rather take them and then be able to have a slightly higher pick in the second round on the back end. I think I like that better than even the number 1 overall pick.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah, I'd rather have 3. John says, I won my league last year taking McCaffrey with the 3rd pick. Jefferson and Chase went 1 and 2 out of injury fear. So yeah, that definitely worked out. Truist says, one name you forgot. What do you think about James Cook being better than Swift? Is he sleeper? Yeah, I mentioned Cook. I put him in the question mark pile. Like you can make the case that he's better than DeAndre Swift. I think he actually might be. Is he a sleeper this year with Buffalo passing game and flux? Just worry about the Allen vulturing touchdowns. Yeah, especially in PPR. I like Cook a lot in PPR. Normal scoring, not as much, but yeah, he's going to get more of a workload with Diggs gone and Davis gone for sure. Especially if like Keon Coleman doesn't pan out right away.
Yeah, I think he's like I think I can imagine. I could expect him to be a decent RB2.
Yeah, I think that's right. Tyson said Jacob took Bijan at 1 last year, didn't he? Yeah, he did. And I thought it was defensible back then too. But now he has more experience and he doesn't have Arthur Smith. So yeah, I think he's this year. You could definitely make a better case for number 1. And then Cook is a goal line back.
I did not think it was defensible last year. I wrote an article about it.
Well, I think that like what I was saying last year about all the running backs is like you could make a bear case for all of them. Like there's something wrong with all the running backs. And McCaffrey had the injury history, and that didn't come up, but until the end, like week 17, I think he got hurt, but that didn't really come up at all. But it easily could have. But I thought like Bijan, outside of the lack of experience, like I didn't think he had a downside.
That's a pretty big downside though in my book.
Yeah, I agree, but like early top 16 players coming to the draft like often don't disappoint. We actually had Ben Wassley on Saturday, and like he did a deep dive into this, and if you compare like top 16 picks versus 17th or 32 in the first round, there's a huge difference in output in the rookie years.
I went back and looked at every rookie running back through the entire first round, going back to 2013, and even the ones in the top half over didn't often were overdrafted in fantasy drafts.
We had like Todd Gurley was great, Melvin Gordon in a good year. I like there were quite a few. I don't have the data in front of me, but like he had he had the numbers, and like there was a really good chance that those guys really panned out. Whereas like 17th or 32, they just didn't. Like there were a lot of busts drafted in that range. So I don't know. I mean, I have to like ask him for specifics next time. But anyway, so what are we up to? I think I'm up to my number 7. Which I'll pull up right now. It's my third quarterback on this list, 3 of 3. It is Josh Allen. Sorry, John, but no, I love Josh Allen in real life. He gives the Bills a chance to win the Super Bowl. As long as he's healthy. But at 206 for a quarterback, that is way too early. Plus, you have to consider this for fantasy. Josh Allen last year said that he wasn't going to run that much until the second half of the year. I don't know if they're still going to have that philosophy. They had a different offensive coordinator back then. It was Ken Dorsey, and then they had Joe Brady take over in the second half of the year. So maybe they'll think differently about that. But if he's not going to run as much and kind of preserve his health, which I guess is like good for the long haul of the season. Like he's probably going to have a better chance of staying healthy, but like you're not going to get all that crazy rushing upside for the first half of the year, and that could really hurt you. Plus, he lost Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. And I know maybe Davis is not a big deal, but like Diggs, I know his production slowed down in the second half of the year, but he was still a threat on the field. Like the defenses were still paying attention to him. Now that he's not there, like the defense could pay attention to everyone else, including Allen with his rushing. So, I just fantasy wise, I'm not big on Allen, especially in the second round. That like I said, that's absurdly early.
Well, I already mentioned Josh Allen because I said any quarterback drafted in the first 8 rounds. So, I mean, our list matches perfectly here.
Yeah, it does. So, who's your number 6 bust?
Okay, is this? Hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've only got 5 guys left. I don't know. Okay.
So I can go again if you want.
All right, I'll maybe adjust on the fly here. But I had quarterbacks, and I had tight ends, and I had Eckler and Swift. Okay, now I'm going to get to some real names here. Okay. All these guys are being drafted in the in the first 3 rounds of fantasy drafts, ADP projections. 27th guy off the board, Mr. Drake London. I think he's fine, but like he's not special to me. I watch this guy play. he doesn't seem special to me. He seems like just a guy, which is fine. But if you're going to draft a guy in the third round of a fantasy draft, you're expecting this guy to be like really good. You're expecting him to like, if you're drafting him in the third round, it's possible that you're expecting him to be your number one receiver. Like if you go running back, or if you go, if you went, running back, wide receiver, London's got to be your second guy. Or if you go, running back, tight end, receiver, like you're going to be relying on Drake London. And I'm just not sure he's good. Like I think he's fine. Again, I'm not saying he sucks. I'm not convinced he's great. There are several receivers going after him that I would much rather have. DJ Moore, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Stephon Diggs, Mike Evans, Cooper Kupp, all the DK Metcalf, all these guys are going after Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. All these guys are going after him. Some of these guys are going significantly after him. I would take Zay Flowers even in that mix. I would take all those guys over Drake London right now.
I think another case you can make against him is that Kirk Cousins may not be 100% coming off the Achilles, and maybe that's why they drafted Michael Penix. I brought that theory up a while ago or a couple times. But yeah, I mean, there's no guarantee Cousins is 100%. And London has vaulted up to the third round because of Cousins. It's a natural connection. But if Cousins is not healthy, then that there's no reason for him to go that high. So I think you could be on to something there. John says you need to update that Allen picture. I get the picture right away, and then I never change it. Look at Kelsey. John, you said you weren't here earlier. Look at the Travis Kelsey photo. It's from when he was drafted. That's his combine photo. So
excellent.
I think it's funny just to have these old photos. To see how players have changed. Dick says sleeper sent an alert saying look out for Chase Claypool as a late round sleeper in Buffalo. I've heard so many people talk about Chase Claypool. I just can't fathom why. Late round sleeper in 32 team leagues, maybe. I don't know. Why would you ever draft Chase Claypool?
Have they seen him play?
I don't know. He quit on the team last year. He quit on the Bears. It's absurd. I don't know. He was good his first year. He made some really big plays, but he's just regressed every single year. He probably just doesn't work very hard. I feel like that tends to be the case when you see players decline right away in the early years. Remember Michael Clayton? He had 1,400 receiving yards as a rookie, and then he just disappeared. And it's because he was a major partier. He just never worked out. He just went to parties all the time, and so he just got so much worse because he didn't work out. So that tends to happen in the NFL to some guys. John says they said that every year with Allen, but he's finished QB1 the last 4 years. Yeah, I mean, his production was pretty uneven though. The first half of the season, he just wasn't getting the rushing yards, rushing touchdowns. I remember playing him in DFS and just being disappointed all the time. But yeah, late in the year, he caught fire. But if you drafted him in the second or third round, and you weren't getting that production in the first 2 months, you were probably just out of the playoff picture. So that's what I'm saying. I just think he's drafted too early. Even if he's the QB1, I think round 2 is way too early for him. Kirk Cousins, the fact that I respected London season. Dick says, damn, London was going early, mid-second round in some best ball drafts. Round 3 seems like a bargain. Yeah, well, compared to that, round 2 is kind of crazy. I do think round 3 is a bit too early. Draft Star says London, receiver 9, ADP 206. A lot of hype here with Cousins, who may not be healthy. It's a tough ask. And Sue says, imagine being a receiver like London and your QB is Ritter or Heineke or Mariota. So that's definitely true. His quarterback is theoretically better, but like I said, he may not be healthy. So it's we don't know. We don't know how that's going to go. All right, so I gave my I was last on Allen, right? No, you were London. Go.
I've lived long enough to see a lot of receivers still put up really good fantasy numbers with really bad quarterbacks. Larry Fitzgerald made a career out of it. David Boston made a career out of it. Well, at least before he had roid rage. We've seen it. Calvin Johnson did it. He had Stafford so I guess that's might not fair.
Yeah, not his first 2 years though.
Right. Yeah, I mean, actually, I can't remember who said it, but it was Justin Jefferson had a bunch of yards with Nick Mullins. Like, we like if you're a great receiver, if you're great, you'll put up some numbers. You'll flash. There will be evidence that you're great, no matter who your quarterback is. I don't see that with Drake London. I watched almost every Falcons game last year, which shows you I have no social life. But like I just didn't see it. I don't. So anyway, I could be wrong. But I think the idea that like his quarterback sucked and that's why like maybe he just is not as great as we want him to be.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see like good quarterbacks post good stats with bad quarterbacks, but when they get paired with a great quarterback, like their numbers will just skyrocket.
Exactly.
Like Randy Moss comes to mind. Remember, like in Minnesota at first, obviously he was doing great, but then like he went to the Raiders and he still had some good numbers, but they weren't great because he was playing with Kerry Collins late in his career. Then he went to Tom Brady.
And he didn't care.
Right, that's true. Yeah, and then he went to Tom Brady, and then he had like one of the best receiver seasons of all time. Right. So yeah, that's saying it's also no Arthur Smith is Falcons head coach. That definitely helps. That's a case true. You can make for London. All right, so you just gave London, so I'm up next. How about Calvin Ridley? His ADP is 508. So 5th round for Calvin Ridley playing with Will Levis in a run-first offense because they're going to be running the ball with Tony Pollard and throwing the ball to Tajay Spears. I feel like the running backs there are going to be featured. Now, Ridley is the number one receiver there over Hopkins, but he has had just some major issues, just like being on point in the locker room. Like he in Atlanta, he took a leave of absence and then he was suspended. Jacksonville did not want him back, contrary to some reports. So Charlie Campbell reported that the Jaguars wanted to just see Ridley leave because he wore out his welcome in the locker room. He just was a bad guy there. If Tennessee starts losing right away, and like if you look at their schedule is like kind of insane the first 2 months. Like I feel like this guy could just lose interest. Like talk about Randy Moss going to the Raiders. Like this could be similar. And just think about Ridley's quarterbacks. So he started with Matt Ryan when Matt Ryan was still a good quarterback. Then he went to Jacksonville to play with Trevor Lawrence. Now he's going to have Will Levis. So it's a big downgrade for Ridley here. And his ADP is 508. I think that's too early. What do you think about Ridley being on the bus list?
Yeah, I think that's probably well. I mean, there is upside there. We saw him, for 2 games last year be great. I think the question mark is Will Levis. If Will Levis is great, then 5th round is probably fine for Ridley. If Will Levis sucks, then 5th round is too high. I think I'm a little bit higher on Levis than you are, but not much.
Yeah, you are. I do acknowledge the upside with Levis. Like, he does have the upside. I just think that, especially in the second year, like he's a super raw prospect. Like I think that he's probably gonna have like 3 or 4 great games if he stays healthy the whole year. But he's gonna have like 5 or 6 awful games where he just looks like he shouldn't be a starter. We saw that in a couple games last year against the Colts late, and then against Tampa. He just looked miserable in those games. And the best game he had was against Atlanta. And that was like Atlanta did not have any tape on him. Plus Atlanta's defense was good, but not great. So and it felt like Levis got worse and worse each week. So other like I said, I do acknowledge the upside. So you're up.
All right. My next guy is being drafted 1 spot ahead of Drake London. I actually like this guy much more than Drake London, so I hate the dog on him, but it's Nico Collins. I guess I think he's a good player. He's fine, but I think he's being drafted. He's the 26th overall player being drafted. And so I just like I think he's fine, but like really like there's a crew of receivers that I would rather have. Now, Nico Collins, I think talent-wise is clearly better than Drake London. There's a significant step up there. But there's a bunch of guys being drafted behind him I just much rather have that I think are more talented and are more likely to outscore him. Deebo Samuels, Brandon Ayuk, Stephon Diggs, his teammate. I think I'd rather have Diggs at this point. Mike Evans, Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. I think all those guys are clearly better than Nico Collins. And then there's a handful of guys that I think are close. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Zay Flowers, maybe even Malik Neighbors, maybe even Christian Kirk. Like, I think all those guys are potentially on the same par as Nico Collins. And they're all being drafted. Some of those guys being drafted 2 rounds later. And then Tank Dell. If Tank Dell comes back from his injury healthy, I'm not sure that Tank Dell's not the best receiver on that team. So yeah, I think I'd rather have, like, Nico Collins is a nice player. I'm not dogging. I'm not saying he sucks. I just think for where he's being drafted, I think I'd rather have both of his teammates, Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell, based on their draft status, their ADPs, over Nico Collins.
Yeah, as Dick's saying, you'd rather have Tank Dell 2 rounds later than Nico or Diggs. I agree with that. Yeah. I do agree Nico is going too high. He had a great run late last year, but Tank Dell was injured and they had no Stephon Diggs. So I think there's going to be some regression to the mean for sure. Now, I do think he's still going to have some great games. Yeah. So I don't hate him, but yeah, I think you're right that he could definitely be on the bust list for just being drafted too early. And then John says, I know this is a bust show, but do you think T. Higgins at receiver 28 is underrated? So that'll be a receiver 3. I think that's fine. Especially Tyler Boyd gone. I think that's he's probably going a little too late. Maybe it's because of the holdout, just some uncertainty there. But yeah, I would definitely take Higgins as a receiver 28.
Yeah, I'd be fine with him there.
Receiver 28 is going. So Higgins is going 60th overall, which is what 512. Yeah, I think that's fine. I actually kind of like him there because I feel like he's gone in like the 4th round before. Now he's going 5th round, even though Boyd's gone. So yeah, I like that. All right, so my next guy is Cooper Kupp. His ADP is 401. We have Puka Nacua there, like he's the man there now, especially now that he's experienced. And I feel like this ADP is like Memberberry almost. It's like, oh, remember Cooper Kupp? I remember Cooper Kupp. Like, I don't know. This is way too early. He gets injured a lot. And if you look at his production, after week 6 last year, he only had 2 100-yard games. It was all Puka Nacua. It was Kyron Williams doing a lot. And there's no guarantee Matthew Stafford stays healthy. Like I like Stafford if he stays healthy, but he tends to get injured a lot. So I think there are a lot of reasons to hate on Cooper Kupp, especially at ADP 401. That's just way too early. It's like almost like, what year is this even? Like why are people drafting him at 401? I feel like at this stage of his career, he should probably be like 6th, 7th round. I understand if this is PPR, you could maybe bump him up, but yeah, it just feels like this is a Memberberry pick for sure, which you just never do.
I love that line. I think I'm going to be higher on Cooper Kupp than you. 4th. I think this is actually about right. 4th, maybe. Really? Yeah.
He's also 31 and injury prone. Like I feel like there's so many reasons to avoid him.
I'll have to look a little. Yeah, he didn't. And I was looking. He didn't stand out to me as terrible. So. Yeah, there's a couple guys going after him. I probably would take, DK Metcalf, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. I probably want Keenan Allen, Zay Flowers, maybe T. Higgins, maybe Malik Neighbors, even maybe Christian Kirk, even. So yeah, that's probably a little high. I think maybe I'd feel comfortable late 4th, early 5th.
Okay. Yeah, only 2 100-yard games last year after week 6. Some Papa Smith asking, why do you hate the Celtics? I think this is for you, Kenny, because I don't hate the Celtics. I'm betting against them. I don't like them or hate them, so I'm neutral on them. But why do you hate the Celtics?
People from Boston are smug and arrogant, and they think they're better than everyone, even though they sound like they, barely got out of the 4th grade with that dumb accent.
Jacob excluded, although he's not in Boston proper, but.
And then people in Boston also think that they're so great to America. Like, your city's not that great when it comes to American culture. Like, you've not really offered anything to the world. Okay. They think they're like New York and like they haven't. Okay. And they don't really deserve all the winning that's happened there. Like the Celtics have won championships in my lifetime, multiple. And then the Patriots, obviously, and the Boston Bruins and the Red Sox. And like Boston people love to play the victim card. Like, oh, we didn't win a World Series for 90 years. But then like you've won like, 18 championships in the last 21 years between the four majors. But like they pretend like they're not, like they want to hate on the Yankees for being this great team. Like, oh, they just buy championships. Meanwhile, the Red Sox have one of the highest, payrolls in baseball for the last, 20 seasons. Like they pretend to be the little guy when they're not. It's like a politician who's like a multi-billionaire who actually doesn't give a rip about you, but wants to pretend like he knows you, like he's been in your shoes when like he's never. Like you're an idiot. No, you're lying. Don't lie to me. Don't condescend to me. And yeah, I'm jealous of your championships. Yeah. And I hope all your players get injured.
So, I was about to say, like, I'm looking for an NP flag, and I think that rant might be it. No, I love the rant. I love the rant. So we had an anti-Dallas rant. Now we have an anti-Boston rant. But I do have to disagree with you with one thing you said. You said like Boston's not New York, and you're referring to like New York offering culture. I think New York sucks too. I think New York sucks more than Boston, to be honest. Like,
really? I like New York.
They had to call in the National Guard because people were getting thrown in front of trains too often, and like you have these videos of women getting punched in the head in New York. Like it's maybe it was good back in the day, but now I would never go there. In fact, like my wife went to New York a few weeks ago because our niece was she had the lead in some Frozen play. Like she's like 5th grade or something. So she went to see her and she's like, should I take the kids? I'm like, no, you're not taking the kids to New York. Like, no way. It's way too dangerous. I'm like, there's no way. I'm like, my family fled. This is like 40 years ago, but or 50, almost 50 years ago. My family fled a communist country. And like New York is basically communist stronghold right now. So like, there's no way I'm sending my kids there. Like, no way. So asking, what's the highest must draft round? Back to football. What is the highest must draft round? Would a WalterFootball or Kenny draft uber talented Malik Neighbors? Let's look at Neighbors' ADP and see if he's going too early. His ADP is 55 overall, which is 507. I like Neighbors a lot. Now, even though he's going to play with the Giants, you have Daniel Jones coming off the ACL. So I think that's about fine. Round 5, he's so talented. It might actually be a little too late. And maybe he has a great preseason performance and he goes round 4, which I wouldn't take him around 4, but round 5, I'd consider him around 5. What do you think about Neighbors?
The other thing you have to consider is that anytime you draft a Giants player, it makes your soul sad. So
another reason why New York sucks.
So even if he's a value in the 6th round, you have to account for the fact that your soul is going to be sad the entire season while you own him on your team. Yeah. You're going to be sad. So
yeah, you don't want your soul sad. That's it's a real negative. Dick says pick one: Drake London, Cooper Kupp, Chris Olave, Nico Collins, all ranked in the same race in Draft Sharks. I personally would not go London or Kupp. I think it's either Olave or Collins. I think Olave, I mean, he's clearly the number one there, and Collins has got the share targets with Dell and Diggs. So I go to Olave. What do you think?
I think Olave is the most talented of the bunch. I think he's of this guys. I think he's clearly the most talented, and I think he's got the easiest path to leading his team in targets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. Sue says, but Boston had a tea party. That's true, Kenny. You can't ignore that, right?
The whole history of the Tea Party is it was a manufactured event. It was faux.
Really? Explain.
Well, the Tea Party, it was a bunch of they dressed up as Indians, pretending they threw stuff over, but then they actually went back and like they the tea company was in on it. It was a conspiracy. They just wanted to piss off the British, and then they ended up replacing the damaged goods. So like, oh, we destroyed all this property, but like actually they didn't. It was a conspiracy. It was the company was in on it to piss off the British.
Wow. So, okay. Yeah. Oh,
Philadelphia, on the other hand, actually gave birth to modern democracy. You're welcome.
Well, I have to point out we're a constitutional republic.
Democracy, little d.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, history lesson here. Who knew? Dick says Boston is miserable. I like Celtics. I can't even stand Celtics fans. The arrogance is so off-putting. Yeah, I feel like Jacob's the opposite of that. Like, I feel like he's like the least arrogant person ever.
I forgot that Jacob is from that area.
Yeah, he's not like actually in Boston though.
Okay, that's right.
So yeah, he's spared from this. Yeah, but he's a Celtics fan. But yeah, Jacob's awesome. Yankee Stone says Yankees suck. John says leave Obama out of this. And then Sue says I don't want a sad soul. Right?
No,
yeah,
you don't. You don't want to
avoid. Soul. Yeah, you want to avoid getting your soul sad. Jacob is an honorary non-Bostonian, says Bagley. Yes, for sure. All right, so I gave Cooper Kupp. Are you up or am I up? Who did you give?
I've got 3 more. How many do you have left?
I have. Let's see. I have. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 left, so I'm going again.
All right.
Okay. Okay. Well, you said Nico Collins. I'm giving you Stephon Diggs. So Stephon Diggs, he looked washed up in the second half of the season. Now, there could have been an undisclosed injury. Like, that's definitely true. However, he's 31. He's going to be 31 in November. So a decline could be permanent. And he's going to be in a very crowded receiving core, like which he wasn't in Buffalo. Like, they had Gabe Davis, sure. He had some big games, but generally he just wasn't that much of an impact player. Like, who else did they have when Diggs was there? Like Emmanuel Sanders, like, he's nothing. They had like Cole Beasley. Like they had Dalton Kincaid last year, but when Kincaid caught fire, like Diggs' production went down. So like Diggs hasn't had, for the most part, like much to contend with in Buffalo. So like he just kept getting force-fed the ball. Like now he's going to have to share targets with Nico Collins and Tank Dell. So given his age, I wanted to have one of the Houston receivers here. And I easily could have gone with Collins. I think you're on point with Collins being drafted too early. But Diggs at 302, given his age, like I said, 31, and also his decline in the second half of last year, I think it's way too early at 302. I think both Diggs and Collins are going way too early, whereas Tank Dell at round 5 seems pretty good.
You might be right on this one, and Diggs might end up being actually the worst pick between the two, him and Nico Collins. I a couple of weeks back, I talked about it. I think I went back and watched, on Game Pass, all of the, the last few weeks of Stephon Diggs. He looked fine to me on, again, I'm an amateur guy, watching it on my laptop while sitting in bed in my underwear. So like, I'm not exactly, I'm not a scout. Okay. But like, I don't know. He seemed fine to me. Just for whatever reason, the offense, they didn't want to go to him, or they phased him out of the offense. Now, it could have been an injury. There could have been something in the locker room. There could have been, who knows. Watching, it didn't seem like that. So you might be right. He might be losing a step. He might get older, but I don't, until I see him look slow and look bad, I'm willing to take a trust on him. But I think maybe the lesson I'm learning from this is really, I think Tank Dell's really the best bet on that team right at the moment. Then.
Yeah, definitely agree. Dick says Diggs seems like a ticking time bomb attitude wise, as well as round 2, 3 is a hell no. Yeah, generally for me, like 31 is the age where I just don't want to target a receiver unless like it's like a terrific route runner who's like not going to be as impacted, who like doesn't rely on speed as much. Like Jerry Rice, perfect example. Keenan Allen, yes. Like those type of guys can play well into their mid 30s, whereas someone like Diggs, I think the age impact will hurt him more than others. And Sue says Diggs on the wrong side of the bell curve. Sharp move by Bills to find a trade suitor. Yeah, the Bills dealt him. They didn't want him anymore. So if the Bills didn't want him, like why would you want him on your team in the 3rd round? But yeah, so you're up. You have 3 more. So who's next?
21st player off the board according to Fantasy Pros in typical standard leagues, Mr. Devon Achane, or is it Achan? I don't know.
It runs with 4chan. That's how I remember it.
I watched this guy play. He looked okay. He looked fine, but he wasn't special to me. His numbers looked great because he had a few of those games early on. The Denver game where they scored, a bajillion points in that game, whatever it was, 70 points.
Yeah.
His numbers were skewed by a few really great performances. And you watch him play, even the games where his numbers look decent, he kind of got bailed out on fluky plays. Like he would kind of be non-existent for long stretches of the game, and then would have one or two big plays, and it would make his numbers look respectable. But like players who have those kind of stretches, they eventually get exposed. I remember CJ Spiller. That's the player he reminds me of. He reminds me of a slightly faster version of CJ Spiller. Like CJ Spiller had like a stretch with the Bills and then later with the Saints where like people thought he was really good. And like when you actually watched him play, you realize like, this guy's actually not good. But like he keeps producing numbers and you're just like, you knew like, this is not going to last. And I just think Achan's that kind of guy. Like it would not surprise me if a year from now, Achan's like being drafted in like round 13 of drafts because he's like, he's buried in the depth chart. And people are like, yeah, remember when we thought he was good? Like I could be wrong, but I if he ends up being great, fine. Hey, good on you, bro. But I won't regret staying away from this guy.
Yeah, you know what? He should be on my list. I don't know why I missed him, but yeah, 21 overall, which is mid-second round or toward the end of second round, 209. So I think that's way too early. I don't know how I missed that, but yeah, he should be in my bust list. As Dick points out, too many running backs. I actually like Jalen Wright. Yeah, they traded a third-round pick next year to draft Jalen Wright. I think there's something to that as well. Like maybe they just don't think Achane could stay healthy, which I think that's a fair criticism. And Mike McDaniel's a guy who just wants to use a lot of running backs. So like Achane's going to have some amazing games this year. Like he's probably going to have like 2 or 3 games where he just goes off, but then he's going to have games where he just does nothing. And that sort of player in regular leagues is just someone I don't want. If you're talking best ball, that's completely a different story. But right. in regular standard leagues, just I don't want him in the second round either. So good call on your part. I don't know why I missed that one, but yeah, I'm gonna add that to the list eventually.
Nice.
My next guy is Nick Chubb. So this is the exception, right? I said that every running back or every player on this list was round 6 or earlier. Fantasy Pros has him at ADP 911. I refuse to believe that's true. I feel like he's gonna go like round 4, round 5, unless maybe I'm crazy. Maybe you could say I'm wrong. But really,
you think he's gonna go that high?
Yeah, why wouldn't he? He's the second. He was the first round pick last year. Why would he not go?
Because on national TV, we watched his knee get snapped like a. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something, but that was a gruesome injury. We all watched it, and I think people are going to be gun shy.
I don't know. I guess you're right, but he is. I don't know. Like, I feel like he's going to play this year, and I mean, there's been some positive. There have been some positive reports about him. I don't know. Like, I thought that I just assumed that he was going to play in week 1. I don't know. I guess maybe I should replace him with Achane because I thought he would go way earlier than this. I thought he'd be like round 3, round 4, round 5.
Well, if he's going around 3 or 4, I'm with you. That does not feel like a wise decision to draft him in that spot.
Right. I'm kind of like looking at like news reports. He's says he's taking knee rehab day by day. I don't know. I just for some reason I just assumed he would play week 1, but maybe you're right. Maybe he just won't. And maybe that 9-11 is correct. Again, shout out to John Sanders. But no, I think. If my assumption is correct, then yeah, you agree. Like running back coming off 20 ACL, that's just way too dangerous. But
not just an ACL. I mean, all 3 ligaments in his knee.
Yeah. So, so maybe I don't know. Like I have to look more into this. I just assumed he was going to go earlier, and I think if there are some positive reports, like he will skyrocket up because people remember how talented he was. But yeah,
and he's generally been a kind of. I mean, both of us have loved Nick Chubb. He's kind of been a favorite of ours. So
yeah.
If he's fully healthy and there's great reports and he looks good in preseason, which I would be surprised by, but if that were to happen, I definitely could see his draft stock ticking upward.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. In the meantime, I think I may replace him with Achane, but if he hears some positive reports about him and he skyrockets, there's someone to avoid. Now, if he goes like mid, if he goes round 9, round 10, round 11, then maybe you consider him as a flyer because maybe he's going to be treated like Breece Hall, like he doesn't get much in the first half of the season, and the second half of the season maybe he'll go off. So bold take by Kenny. HN YPC was almost 8. I know Kenny's a big proponent of yards per carry.
Yeah. Not a stat that I value. Sorry, bro.
Yes. All right, Kenny, what's your next one?
This one I wrestle between my number 1, number 2, because I actually think my number 1 guy is a good player. But I'm going to go with I'm going to flip flop them because there's one I feel more strongly about. So okay, my number 2 is a guy who I actually think he's a good player. And so he's being drafted 8th overall in fantasy. That's Amon-Ra St. Brown from Detroit. He's a good player. He's a unique player in that when he came out, I remember saying this guy's not going to be good because he doesn't have the typical skill set. He doesn't have the typical body size and the typical skill of an elite receiver in the NFL. Derrick Henry was that for me. And just like, this guy doesn't look like, he doesn't normally, guys his size and this style don't usually play good. Or Austin Eckler was that, like, there are certain guys where I'm just like, they just don't got it. And they've proved me wrong. And that's fine. Hey, Amon-Ra St. Brown, you've proved me wrong. So he's a decent player. I'm not saying he sucks. But there's 2 things. One, Jared Goff played out of his mind for large stretches of last year. And I don't think he's as good as what he showed on tape last year. I think there will be some regression for Goff. I think the Lions this was their primo year. And this was their best chance to win the Super Bowl in this era. And I think I can easily see them being a 10-win team, 11-win team, one and done in the playoffs, maybe win 1 game in the playoffs and they're out. Like, I don't think they're a great team. And because I don't think Goff is that great. I think he's fine. And so I could see their offense taking a slight step back I think that could hurt Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then I just think there's other receivers in that I just would way rather have over him. I guess I'm just a little surprised that he's being drafted. Like, he's being drafted ahead of, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, who the other guy. Let me pull up the list of guys that are being drafted after him. And I'm just like, I would just much rather have Puka Nacua, AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, maybe Devontae Adams, like maybe even Marvin Harrison Jr. Maybe Chris Olave. There's several guys being drafted after Amon-Ra St. Brown that I think are of equal value or maybe even better value. If I'm drafting, if he's going, the 7th or 8th overall pick, like mid to late first round on him, I think that's a huge mistake. I think you could take him there and he could return some decent value. I think the risk is too high. I don't think he's going to actually return first round value. And so taking him in the first round feels like a big mistake to me.
Well, I agree with you that St. Brown's going too early. Now, if this is PPR, it's a different story. But in standard, I think first round is too early. I love St. Brown as a player, but 108, I don't like that. I will disagree with you on the Lions overall. I think that they're going to be even better this year. Now you could argue, hey, they just came out of nowhere. Like, where'd this come from? But I mean, Jacob and I have been on the Lions train for a couple years. And we were a little too early. I kind of likened it to buying GameStop at $4 in July of 2020, which I distinctly remember because I was in Las Vegas. It actually dipped to 388, and I bought some shares, but not really enough. No, it's like we were on the Lions a couple years ahead of time because I really liked 2 things. I really liked what they did in the front office. They never spent money on scouting, and the new GM convinced the ownership to spend a lot on scouting, and they did. And they brought in this all-star scouting department. And like, for that reason, like, they've drafted so much better. They've signed better players. And like, you could tell it's like night and day, really. And I think they're here to stay. They're no longer the laughing stock in the NFL. Like, they're not going to be even close. I think they're going to be a powerhouse for a while. And I think like the second reason I thought is because I love their offensive line. Like they made sure they upgraded the offensive line. They took Penei Sewell after they took Taylor Decker, and they have other good players in the interior. They signed Kevin Zeitler this offseason. So like I think their line's going to be even better than it was last year. And their secondary was a problem last year. Like their pass defense is the only issue, and they spent picks on Terry Arnold and Enos Rekestraw. They got Carlton Davis from Tampa. I think at least one of those guys is going to be pretty good. And then they signed DJ Reader away from the Bengals. That's massive. Like they're going to have a great run clogger, and he can get after the quarterback as well. And they also have Aiden Hutchinson, other guys can get to the quarterback. And plus I love Jahmyr Gibbs in that offense. And if they can get anything out of Jameson Williams, like that offense is going to be disgusting because they have Gibbs, they have St. Brown, they have Sam Laporta, they have. I know you don't like Montgomery, but like he's good at the goal line. And Jared Goff in that system has kind of been reborn. And Goff has always had talent. I mean, he went number 1 overall. It was just like mentally he just wasn't there. Like he forgot the snap count in the Super Bowl. Like. I think there are criticism with Goff, like performing in the clutch, like so in the NFC Championship or Super Bowl, like there's a chance he could screw up. But I think in the regular season, I think Goff is just going to be, he's going to keep being a monster. And I think the Lions go over the win total. I think there's a chance they have the best record in the NFL. Yeah,
I can appreciate that. I watch Goff. I don't think he's as talented as others think. So, and at the end of the day, I still believe it's a quarterback-driven league. So everything you said about them is accurate, though.
Okay, yeah, it's fair not to like Goff. I'm not a huge Goff fan. I do like that he's turned his career around, and I do think he's taken well to that coaching. But I think you're right. Like I said, I think there's a chance that he screws up somehow in the NFC Championship or Super Bowl. So, all right, so. You just gave St. Brown. I am up with my penultimate guy. And it's a good player. But Kenneth Walker at 409, and like there's a good chance that he just doesn't produce up to like where he's capable of. And like I said, he's good talent. I just hate everything around him. First of all, there's a new coaching staff, so like they're not going to be beholden to Walker. There's a chance that Zach Charbonnet takes some touches away. Now I think Walker's still going to be the primary back, but there's at least a chance that Charbonnet steals some carries. A couple other things, like one, I think Seattle's going to be a lot worse this year. They've had a lot of downgrades on the roster, so I don't think they're going to be as explosive or productive, and I think Walker could be hurt in that regard. Plus, Pete Carroll's gone, so I just don't know how they're going to do. But my biggest gripe here with Walker is this offensive line could be a complete disaster. They lost all 3 starting interior linemen this offseason. They're all gone. And the right tackle, Abraham Lucas, who played well as a rookie a couple years ago, he couldn't stay healthy at all last year. And they had to sign some veteran this offseason to make sure that he's going to play or he could play if Lucas gets hurt. Like the only certainty they have on the offensive line is Charles Cross. Left tackle like this, they could have there's a chance the Seahawks have a bottom 5 offensive line in the NFL if the replacements don't pan out, which the replacements don't look really promising to me. So, I just think that like the talent around Walker has been so depleted that I think that he could just have a bad year, and I think there's a chance the Seahawks really bottom out here, and just like. So I just don't want a player on like a 3 or 4 win team drafting him in round 4 unless he's like an absolute talent. And like Walker is a good player. I just don't think like he's the sort of like all pro guy who can overcome just some difficulty, you know? So that's my stance on Walker.
As we were talking about earlier, like, saying, all-star, great, phenomenal receivers can still produce even with bad quarterback play. Great players can still find a way. Is Walker in that category? Probably not.
Yeah. He's good. He's really good, and not great. Definitely not great. So yeah. So who is your? Hold on. Who says? Well, it's spot on. It's Eagles or Lions in the Super Bowl. What a dissertation on the Lions. I'll rewind that and listen again. Thank you, Slew. Glad you enjoyed it. I have. I've written up my season previews. They will start being posted on Tuesday. And I think you'll see Eagles Lions going pretty far in the playoffs. So, I'm excited to release those. I had a lot of fun writing those. It's always a blast. All right, Kenny, who is your number one bust for the 2024 season?
There's a guy that I liked a little bit, coming out of college. I had not seen him play a lot. I'd seen him play a little bit, and then had seen a lot of great scouting reports on this guy. So, and he has not lived up. He's nothing what I thought or what people said he was going to be. 7th running back off the board, 17th overall player according to Fantasy Pros. Mr. One, Travis Etienne for the Jacksonville Jaguars. This guy sucks, and and I think it's time to realize it. He's not good. This was a mistake. Them drafting him where they drafted him was a mistake. He's the 7th running back, 17th overall, right? That's mid second round, maybe even early second round where he's going. That's ahead of guys that I think are, way better options. Both at running back and receiver. If you're drafting in the second round, you can do way better than Travis Etienne, Chris Olave, and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Josh Jacobs and Derrick Henry is in that mix. Maybe you don't love him, but even I think I'd take Rachaad White above him. I think I'd say a Pacheco. Maybe even James Cook. There's a couple receivers I would take ahead of him. Like, really, as I look at where I would think about taking Travis Etienne, like I'm taking Alvin Kamara ahead of him. I'd rather have Ken Walker. I think I'd rather have Joe Mixon. I think he should be maybe the 55th player off the board is what I think. I think he should be 5th round, 6th round. He's going in the 2nd round. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm crazy. This guy sucks. And if you draft him in the 2nd round to be your RB2 or your RB1, that's a disaster. Don't do it. You will regret that.
Yeah, I'm not a big Etienne fan either. I do think he has some good receiving talent, but as a runner, I think there's it's kind of like lackluster. You see that in some of his performances. He just doesn't live up to the hype most of the time. I take it you disagreed with Rainmakers making him a superstar player.
I think it's the dumbest thing in the planet.
Well, hold on. They made Adam Thielen a superstar player.
Okay, that's a good point. Okay, you got me there.
No, they made some very odd choices. I could have they downgraded CeeDee Lamb from superstar to non-superstar.
I guess we can come up with a long list of things on the planet that are dumber than them making him a superstar. I guess.
It was very bizarre. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe Thielen was the one. I was like, wow, like what are you guys doing? And like downgrading CeeDee Lamb from superstar to not superstar made no sense at all. Sue says, but ATN gets such a large work share. He does get the volume. There's a chance that could change though. They have some young running backs. Do you like Tank Bigsby at all, Kenny?
I don't love him. I think he's fine. He didn't play enough last year, so it's hard to know.
Yeah, I was rooting for him to take some touches away from ETN, but didn't quite happen. Who else? I know they drafted someone. Who else did they have on the roster? Let me see. So they have they drafted Keelan Robinson in the 5th round. Maybe he does something. They have Dearness Johnson too. He had that one game, that good game against Denver on the Thursday night when Chubb and Kareem Hunt were out. But he never got a chance last year either. So yeah, I mean ATN is going to get his chances for sure. But what he does with them, I agree. It's not like
what did he finish last year? Like what was his finish? I don't have it in front of me. Let me see if I can find it quickly. But I don't know. I just don't think he's good. And so you can get all the chances in the world, but if you suck, you're not gonna maximize those chances.
See, he was 7th in points per game, but he was 2nd in snaps. So he gets the opportunity, but he just doesn't live up to it. And if someone takes touches away from him, then he could really decline. I think there's.
I'm just thinking to myself, if I'm drafting in the early to mid 2nd round, particularly if I go wide receiver late in the 1st round, and I'm turning it back around, and I've got to trust Travis Etienne to be a solid RB1, Like I just that feels like that team is not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that either. I don't have him on my bus list, but he could definitely be there. I'm not crazy about him. Etherus says Etienne lost me during that one Clemson game on NBC at Notre Dame. He was trash and was only drafted to make Trevor Lawrence comfortable. Yeah, Urban Meyer made a very strange pick there. So yeah, Urban Meyer didn't quite know what he was doing either. We're talking about dumb things. The Urban Meyer in the NFL was so stupid. And then Bagley says, yeah, I try to grab 2 bell cows before I dive into the committee backs. ATN is near the bottom of that list. He's basically the worst case scenario RB2. Yeah, I mean, again, like he's going to get the opportunities and like he's not going to do that much with them. So,
no, you just mentioned he was according to the Fantasy Pros, he was the eighth in running backs in standard leagues. But the difference between him and like Kane and James Cook at 18 is like 0.4 points per game. I mean, it's pretty much he's the 8th, but like from 8th to 18th, they're all bunched together really tight. Yeah. And so like he very easily could have been a low end RB2, with one thing changing slightly. So it's like, it's not like he's clearly entrenched in the top 7 or 8. Like he's much closer to, James Cook, Gus Edwards territory than he is, Christian McCaffrey or, Kyron Williams, circa 2023 territory.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree with that. Bag says his advantage is that he doesn't have anyone taking touches from him. If you nullify that advantage, he's an RB3. Yeah, I agree with that. And then Sue says, but what if ETN played for the Giants? Would you you're drafting a guy that you don't like and you're going to make your soul sad.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is a trifecta in the negative direction here.
Exactly. My number one bust is also a running back. You actually just mentioned him as a guy you'd like over ETN. I guess I would too. I don't know. It's a tough call. I really don't like this guy either. And he's someone that you haven't liked in the past, but I think now is the time to avoid him completely. His name is Derrick Henry. His ADP is 306. Now he's had some great performances in the past for Tennessee, but now he's going to be playing with a much worse offensive line. Baltimore's offensive line lost 3 starters this offseason, and Tennessee always, like when Henry was going off in the past, like they always had like this great blocking in front of him. Now they're not going to do that. And last year he was splitting touches with Tajay Spears. Do you know how many times he had 16 or few carries last year? It was 8. So like half the season, he was getting 16 or fewer carries. There were several games he had just like 10, 11, 12 carries. Like he just wasn't that involved in offense. And if the team falls behind, it just like he's not going to do anything. Henry at 306, it feels like this is another member-berry pick. Like yeah, I remember Derrick Henry. Like he was great for a while, but now he's old. He's playing with a bad offensive line in a new system. Just I've really just no interest here. This guy's on a major decline. I'm not sure why the Ravens signed him. It's member berries again, I suppose, but yeah, I have no interest in this guy. As far as Henry versus ATN, I think it's tough. I think I actually would prefer ATN, but that's more negative about Henry than positive about ATN.
It will all come down to how they use Henry, and that feels hard to guess. For me, at least, it feels hard to guess to me. Derrick Henry is one of the weirdest players we've ever seen in the NFL. I think the thing is, like, most fantasy people don't actually watch games. So they don't realize how weird his game is. Like Titans fans probably know this. Like Henry's game is like for the first 50 minutes of a game, he just like runs into there's no like you're like, oh, they have a good offensive line. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad because he doesn't even know how to see the blocks. He doesn't see the lanes. He doesn't see the holes. He just like runs into the back of players and kind of just like he's so big he falls forward for 2 yards every time. And he's just like running into a wall, like just boom, boom, boom. But he's just so freaking dang big that he never tires out, and the defense exhausts him at the end of the game. And then he eventually kind of breaks one. He just like he runs into the back of the line, and then like he kind of just stumbles, and there's an opening, and then he can turn on the jets, man. He just once he gets to top speed, no one's catching him. So he's just like this weird guy that like And like most coaches would never have like stuck with this guy. That's where Vrabel like got the best. Like, how many coaches stick with a guy who's just like legitimately sucking for like 50 minutes of a game, and then the last 10 minutes of the game, just like because he's worn down, like he's the epitome of wear down the defense. But like so few coaches are willing to stick with that kind of guy for long stretches of a game. It was a perfect match. Like Derrick Henry with the Titans scheme with Mike Vrabel was like a perfect match. And it's just hard to imagine that he's going to find that match anywhere. But maybe the Ravens are going to be like, listen, we're going to have to let this guy slam into the back with the offensive line, 20 times a game for the first 50 minutes, and then he'll break one. Like, it's just a goofy way of playing. It's worked for Derrick Henry. I mean, he's scored a lot of fantasy points over the years with this goofy style of his. But are the Ravens going to be committed to that? Does that even make sense for them with Lamar Jackson's style of play and the receivers they have? I don't know, man. It feels like a very, very odd match. And I don't know what happens with Derrick Henry. Even with that said, I still think he's better than Travis Etienne because I think Etienne sucks, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah, I just think that Henry's age, I think he's going to be on the decline. So, but I mean, yeah, every time Lamar Jackson scrambles, that's one fewer opportunity taken away for Henry. So I always said this, like Henry reminds me of Bowser from Super Mario Kart. Where like he's like big and he bumps into stuff and he knocks stuff around if you bump into stuff, but he's so slow to start, but then his acceleration is like unbelievable. And like once he gets going, like you just can't, like he just like rams into stuff and knocks stuff out of the way. That's always thought of him. Cassandra says, so what if ATN, so what ATN needs is more YPC. Exactly. And then Dick says Baltimore really has nothing else behind him. It sounds like Keaton Mitchell isn't ready. Justice Hill is as average could be. Sure. I just think that the blocking is gonna be bad. This is like ATN. I just think the blocking is bad, and I think he's on the decline. Like again, there were so many games where he had 10, 11, 12 carries last year. He just was kind of phased out. And I just think he's just past his prime. Sue says defenses, it was easy to focus on Henry. The rest of the Titans' offensive talent was so marginal. That won't happen with him playing in Baltimore's offense. I think maybe, but I think Baltimore's gonna be on the decline this year. And remember, Tennessee, they had AJ Brown for a while when he was there. Maybe they didn't have the quarterback necessarily, but still, I think Baltimore is going to be on the decline because the offensive line is not going to be as productive. And also, Tennessee had great blocking too. They had Taylor Lewan, they had Ben Jones. They had a bunch of great blockers for Henry, and he's not going to have that. Aside from Linderbaum at center and Ronnie Stanley left tackle, and Stanley always gets hurt. Like outside of those two guys, they don't really have the blocking. So I just don't see it here in Baltimore. I get it, but I just don't think it's going to pan out. And Stanley says, "Hey Walt, I think the Washington Redskins are going to finish last in the division because they got a new coach, new offensive coordinator, new quarterback, so the chances of success is slim." I think the Redskins will exceed expectations. Now, I say that I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but I think they can win 6 or 7 games, and I think that'll be better than the Giants. I love what they did defensively. They got Bobby Wagner, they got Frankie Louvu, a linebacker. They added some other players on the offensive line. They got Tyler Biotish and Nick Allegretti. And then who else they got? They got Dorrance Armstrong from Dallas. He's going to be a good edge rusher for them. So I think this team is going to be pretty decent, comparatively than what they were last year. Like they were 4-13 last year. I think they'll win 6 or 7 games. Whereas I think the Giants are going to be a disaster. So I imagine that makes you happy, Kenny.
I want every team in the NFC East to lose every game possible. And when they play each other, I want them to lose both games. I want both teams to lose. Okay. So, when the Redskins and the Giants play, I want them to both lose. That's
both lose. Somehow. I don't know how that'll work out, but maybe a little sign, like maybe one team will win, but they'll make them forfeit that game or something.
I'm gonna pray. I'm gonna find a way. The Lord will find a way.
Yes, maybe. Stanley says, "What's your take on the Bengals' chances with Joe Burrow coming back?" I mean, yeah, Burrow's healthy. They have as good of a chance as anyone in the AFC. Yeah, they're going to be potentially the top seed. Maybe I think definitely a top 3 seed, and they can get to the Super Bowl. And then Dick's asking how we feel about Jahan Dotson. He's dirt cheap ADP. I think he has a huge late round upside. Dotson was on my sleeper list last week, so you can find that sleeper list in the video archives. So it should be out there live on my channel. So yeah, you can watch last week's episode. We went over sleepers. Redskins versus Giants, the sad soul bowl. You have to include Dallas as well, like a weird three-way game of some sort. I don't know how that'll work, but I once saw a 4-player chessboard, and I actually had it, but I could never find people to play with me because they're like, it is strange. Like, you take turns going around, and you have to be the last man standing. It's and I imagine there's like politicking involved. I think it sounded cool to me. I used to play chess a lot when I was a kid. So my grandpa was great, and my uncle was he was like a tournament winner in Russia, but my grandpa taught me, so I used to play as a kid, and then I saw this like 4-way chessboard. I was like, wow, this looks cool, but I try to get people to play with me, and like no one wanted to, sadly, because they're like 4-player chess. What's that? Stupid. They had your reaction, so I don't know.
They allowed chess in Russia. I mean, I thought there was no competition allowed. I thought they were anti-capitalist.
No, they love their shit. They love the chess. They love their hockey. That's all they got going for them in Russia. As it gets soccer too. But yeah, they sign who you're going to play. Like, you're going to be a chess player. You're going to be a soccer player. So you kind of have to do that. So we have Rainmaker packs to open.
Let's go.
So we have a rookie debut pack. You have a bunch of packs. So I guess I'll open mine first, unless you want to go.
I've only got 2 to open right now, but yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you had more.
I have a bunch more packs, but a bunch of them can't be opened yet.
Yeah, as you can see here, I do too. This rare crafting legendary Rainmaker. I don't even know if I'm going to open these. I think I might sell most of them, but yeah, those you can open them in August. These crafting packs, but I do have a rookie debut pack. So these are all the top rookies in this class. So I can't get a Marvin Mims, fortunately. So let's see what the last guy opened. He opened up. Oh man, he opened up. This sucks. If I had opened this earlier, I would have gotten QB selection 1, which is obviously Caleb Williams. He got a rare Caleb Williams, and he got Bo Nix and Ladd McConkey cores. So had I opened this pack an hour ago, I would have gotten that. So sad times.
You were waiting to open it to do it on the show because you're a man of the people, Walter.
Does that mean I'm going to get good karma and get Jaden Daniels rare or
no? Men of the people. Listen, think about the people in the society who have been men of the people. Martin Luther King, Jesus. What do we do to them? We kill them.
Yes, JFK was going to get rid of the FBI and CIA.
Man of the people.
Yeah, they killed him too. Yeah, you're right. So if I'm assassinated, you'll know why. It's because this pack. But here we go. Let's open it.
This is 3 cards with a 50-50 chance of one of them being a rare card.
And 3 course, of course. Getting assassinated on Rainmakers. All right. Well, at least maybe you could get a good player here. Let's see. We got Brian Thomas Jr. is not bad. He's got major upside for sure, but he could just not do much this rookie year. Very raw player. All right, so I'm kind of neutral on that one. See, my second player is we got Keon Coleman. Kind of similar. I feel like in that system, he's going to have opportunities, but I just worry about the separation skills, and I just don't know. I really don't know. Generally, like the receivers in that range, like they're really hit or miss. Ben Wasley and I went over that. Like, Ben had some great data. I mentioned that Saturday's episode. It was June 2nd, the June 2nd episode. You can check that out on our archives. It was phenomenal. He just brought forth a lot of great insight and great info. So definitely check that out if you have the time. And my last card, any predictions on who this is going to be?
Marvin Mims.
He's just going to be a rookie again for no reason.
Just so that you can get him as in Rainmakers.
Yes. They
No,
just
no,
downgrade
this
him.
is going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. I feel it.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Let's see. Oh, Caleb Williams. Okay. Not bad. This could have been the rare, but man of the people means you get screwed over. So, all right. So Caleb Williams, Keon Coleman, Brian Thomas, not the worst pack. I could have gotten like Jalen Polk and Michael Penix Jr. I could have gotten some bad stuff. So not too bad, even though they're all cores. Let's see. How much do you think I lost? So I paid $22 for this. How much do you think this is worth? Like $5 overall? Oh no. Let's see.
More like 10.
Caleb Williams is $569. Keon Coleman's $250. So we got about 820, and then Brian Thomas Jr. To 2. So about slightly more than $10. So I lost half my money. So it's not on Rainmakers. That's actually not too bad.
So good. You got any more packs? You're done.
I'm done. So
right.
you can share your screen now. Dick says, just check your site. Walt, I agree. Big time with Ty Chandler, Kendra Miller, Jahan Dotson, Roman Wilson. Ty Chandler has major upside. Aaron Jones' injury history. He produced late last year as well. Yeah. Glad you like those. Yeah, those are some of the sleepers I had. So, again, if you guys want, you can check that episode last week. Then Damon says, how do you think the Giants will be a disaster when the roster got better than last year? They have a good coach, and that will get the best out of them. Dude, I don't know if they got better. Their quarterback's coming off a torn ACL. They lost Saquon Barkley, which is a major loss. A couple things I do like. I mean, Malik Neighbors obviously going to be a big upgrade at receiver, but they lost Darren Waller too, so don't forget that. Their offensive line, I like that they signed Jermaine or Luminor. But center to right tackle might be the worst in the NFL. Brian Burns is going to be great for them for sure with Thibodeau. It's a great pass rush and Dexter Lawrence. But their secondary is utter trash. And they lost Avery McKinney. Their cornerbacks are horrible. So I think the Giants might be the worst team in the NFC. But yeah, I mean, if they win 4 or 5 games, I think they could maybe get there. But yeah, I think 4-13 it might be a good target for them. All right, so I'm adding your screen here. Okay, so you're up.
So we'll do this one first. This is a booster pack. I think I bought this. So what I've been doing on Rainmakers, I just been making a bunch of offers to people, and so I think I got this one. Well, it's not opening for some reason. There it is. I think I got this one for $2. So. Oh, what happened here? Okay, something's my it's not loading.
Maybe that's why it's $2.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Did it just
maybe it just gave you the cards.
It gave me the cards. Okay, that's lame. No,
you didn't get the animation, and you're not getting the graphics either. That's so weird.
Wait a minute, but those are not the.
They're not. Oh, okay. What?
Wait a minute. I'm something happened. Something's going on with my I don't know what's happening here. Okay.
So those weren't the cards you got in the pack? Dotson, Walker, and Washington. Here, click on one of them. They'll tell you where you got them from.
Oh.
Just go down a little bit. See, nothing's loading for you. I think something's wrong with your browser or something. Can you open this up in another browser?
Yeah. Okay. Something's going on, and I'm a man of the people, so I must get this corrected. This is unacceptable for me to.
I get screwed on the rare. You get your cards disappearing. It's rough being a man of the people. Dagger says, I can't exactly quantify what I mean by this, but the Giants just have the R of a loser. It takes a while to overcome that, even after you put together a halfway decent roster. I think they kind of have that stench. I agree. And they don't even have a halfway decent roster. So, yeah, totally on board with that.
Okay, so I think now. Okay, I think this is. Okay, I think I'm fixing this now. Let me present my screen and share screen. Okay, can you see that there?
Yes. Okay, now we got the graphics. All right, click on one of those players. I'm curious if you got a rare defense, please. All right, go down. It'll show you. It'll say where you got it. Yeah, received. It says received to Kenny Ortiz.
Oh, okay, so so that's all right. So these 3 cards, I just received. So this is defense.
Yeah,
$1. Darnell Washington, 30 cents. Dotson, 30 cents. So about $1.60. I paid $2 for that card.
There you go. Actually, it's pretty good. And yeah, you need those defenses and kickers for your deep roster lineups. And Dotson could rebound. I think there's a chance he comes back. So yeah. All right, so you got this RPO pack.
You're right. And this one I paid $4 for this pack. The going rate for them was about 13 to 15. I think that's the going rate. So I got this one at a steal. 5 cards, one of them with a rare. So
okay. Well, at least we'll have one rare opening. So I still can't believe, man, that sucks not getting the Caleb Williams rare, but it's okay. Whoa. Well, you got 4 rares. Look at this. 4. Let's hope one of them is really good, at least.
All right, let's see what we got here.
Core is Russell Wilson, so he's a starting quarterback at least. Mm-hmm. Rare number 1. Michael Mayer, which would have been a lot better about a month and a half ago or 2 months ago at this rate.
Tight end.
Yeah, I mean, you need tight ends for a deep roster, but Brock Bowers kind of ruined him. But
yep.
All right. Rare number 2 is Isaiah. It's these tight end twos. Like if Mark Andrews goes down, that's a really good one.
This pack's not feeling great.
Well, it's not terrible either. At the same time, a lot of backups here. Tyler Algier. Again, you have some upside here. Bijan goes down, suddenly that's gonna be a good one for you. All right, let's go. Mahomes. You mentioned him before. John Mo. They got progressively worse, I think. How much did you make on this pack? Let's see.
It
was $4, right? So you got $1.25, $1.10. So that's $2.35 plus Russell Wilson, $2.70, Michael Mayer, $3.70, Tyler Algier, $4.70. You actually made money on this pack.
70 cents. Look at that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so pretty lame sauce. But yeah, anyway, that's the and then I didn't win anything in a contest last week in golf, but we'll see if I can bounce back this week.
Which is disappointing because you had McElroy and Hughes in your lineup. I feel like they both finished in the top 10. So I kind of wonder what happened otherwise. But yeah, there are some big prize pools this week.
How do I look back at my previous contest?
Just highlight under contest at the top menu. And then my recent.
Oh yeah, there you
go. So this is May 30th. So I think you have to scroll down more. I think if you keep going down. Actually, no, May 30th is that correct? Yeah, May 30th. May 30th is correct. Yeah. Yeah, you were close to cashing this one lineup. Looks like. Was that the one with Hughes? No. Yeah. No, it looks like you didn't put Hughes in your McElroy lineup.
Oh, what a bummer.
Yeah. If you did that, yeah. See, if you put Hughes in your McElroy lineup, I think you would have cashed. Because you were super close without Hughes there. So, yeah.
All right, there it is.
We have one last comment. Bagley says, "Does Isaiah likely have a brother named Scam?" Because I keep getting phone calls from him. It's a good one. Nice. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Especially thank you to Kevin for the $5 and $10 super stickers. Thank you so much, Kevin. But yeah, really appreciate you guys. We'll be back tomorrow. Not sure if Tom's gonna be on tomorrow or Saturday. But either way, we're gonna have a show tomorrow. So please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store. All that would be appreciated. Kenny, you run thecapIsFake.com. Do you want to talk about that or anything else?
ThecapIsFake.com. No super recent new articles, but lots of old stuff on there. I'll make a note to one day I have to write an article why PC is the worst stat.
I would like that a lot. I thought you were gonna say you're gonna have to write an article about like why your soul will be sad with the Giants.
That's probably worth writing about as well.
Yes.
Although writing about it might cause my soul to be sad as well. Even writing about how the Giants make your soul sad could make my soul sad. So I have to be careful.
That's true. We already had some bad pack openings. You don't want to be too sad. Chris says 2 more hours. Kenny, you good to last till 3 a.m.?
I don't know if you've noticed. I've been yawning. So I think
I don't think we're gonna last too much longer. And then Damon says, "Who do you have winning the finals?" I think Dallas wins unless Porzingis comes back early enough. Then I think Boston has a good chance. But I'm gonna go with Dallas at the moment. All right, guys.
Dallas.
Okay. Thanks guys so much once again. We will be back tomorrow, and I hope everyone has a good night. And Kenny, always love doing this to you. And we'll talk to you later.
You man, Walt.